And here we are at the 2014 Sinquefield Cup. After the event, we are at Ultimate Moves, which is going to be a very special team event involving all 6 Sinquefield Cup competitors and Garry Kasparov. Tony Rich is going to talk a little bit about how this event is going to work. As you see, both Randy and Rex Sinquefield are set up, and we're going to find out who's on each of their teams right now. So on team Rex Sinquefield, the founder of the chess club here in St. Louis, also the president, he is with Garry Kasparov, the legendary world champion, Fabiano Caruana, Sinquefield Cup champion, Maxime Vachier-Lagrobe, and Yasser Seirawan. Yasser Seirawan is not in the booth with me today. Instead, we have Grandmaster Alejandro Ramirez. Welcome, Alejandro.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here broadcasting. And I think the teams are actually very even, especially for the rapid portion of the game. We see Randy Sinquefield heading up the team led by world champion Magnus Carlsen. Second in the world, at least before the tournament started, the Sinquefield Cup, Levon Aronian. And then, of course, Hikaru Nakamura, USA's #1, and former world champion Veselin Topalov. It's an incredibly strong field, and we have to see how much influence the Sinquefields will have.
Well, that's right, but remember that the Sinquefields are starting it up, so they're going to play their first 5 moves, their first 5 opening moves. Both of them have studied the openings. Rex actually is my student. Randy Sinquefield plays a lot with his friends. He's actually the founder of Spectrum Studios, which puts together, produces this broadcast. And they play chess after listening to chess for about 6 hours a day. So they know what's up too.
I think it'll be quite a strong match, and I want to see more or less how the styles of the players kind of blend into each other. I want to see the transfer of the 2,800 players from the moves that they make into the style of the others, because that'll be very interesting to see. For example, the way that Garry Kasparov plays is definitely not something that Caruana understands. They play completely different chess.
And here we are. We're going to go upstairs to Executive Director Tony Rich. Love those smiles on all the players. They're smiling, they're laughing. And here Tony is to explain the rules.
Thanks, Jen. The 2014 Sinquefield Cup wraps up with some very fun events, including Ultimate Moves here today. Ultimate Moves is an exhibition match where amateur players are paired with grandmasters, and they'll each have an opportunity to put their own flavor on the game. So our starting contestants are 2 amateur players, Rex Sinquefield, founder of the Chess Club and Scholastic Center of St. Louis, and his son, Randy Sinquefield. There's no competition here between you guys, right? So Rex and Randy will make the first 5 moves of our rapid games. When they're done playing their 5 moves, they hop up, and the first grandmaster from their bench will play the next 5 moves. We'll keep alternating through there until the games are all decisive. We wrap it up with between 4 and 8 Blitz games, including 4 and 8. And in those games, Rex and Randy will each have a grandmaster with them. They'll alternate making those moves, and the losing team, that grandmaster walks. You hope your whole bench doesn't get used up before the other team does, because then you're the loser of Ultimate Moves. We don't want that. All right, so we're going to kick things off here. We have Jeannie Sinquefield, also a co-founder of the Chess Club and Scholastic Center of St. Louis, and she will do us the honors of ringing the bell.
And Rex Sinquefield has started the clock. Thank you to Tony for that lucid explanation of the rules. We are going to talk about the Blitz later, but for now, let's talk about the Rapid. As you can see, they're both playing extremely quickly, even though it's 25 minutes with a 2-second increment. I think probably a little bit nervous about all the participating grandmasters. I should point out, you probably saw Grandmaster Maurice Ashley. He is in the front row, and he's going to be doing some sideline interviews as this exciting match progresses. So what's up with the opening? Do you like Randy's choice here?
I think it's a very solid opening, and actually, to be fair, it's one that his team is really going to like. It's the kind of positions that Magnus Carlsen really enjoys, the kind of positions that Levon Aronian really enjoys. So it's a perfect segue into the kind of styles that they really like. Whereas Team Rex, I think, is going for more of a King's Indian style approach. And that actually suits some of their players. We see former world champion Garry Kasparov, one of the most proficient players of the King's Indian setups. And we see that we have a very interesting opening, and we'll see how they follow up afterwards.
And Magnus can't stop laughing. And we should point out Gary Kasparov, big fan of Randy Sinquefield. He actually flew into St. Louis for his 70th birthday last night, and that's why he's here today.
I won that for one of my birthdays.
That's quite a birthday present, exactly. And he also gave a very lovely speech about the importance of the Sinquefield Cup and the chess club in general to the promotion of chess, particularly in America. So yeah, quite a positional struggle here. Now, the key thing about this game is note that the Sinquefields, definitely strong amateur players, but not on the level of the other competitors in this tournament. So what's going to be crucial is when they step back in, what's going to happen? Is the position going to be blasting open at that point and put them under a lot of pressure? This opening suggests perhaps yes.
It really depends how they use their timeouts. They're going to have 2 timeouts in those 5 moves that I think is crucial that they use them wisely. And we see that the first bench grandmasters are just standing up. We reached the 10-move mark as Magnus Carlsen has played his 10th move. And I think it's an interesting position, but one that's not going to be that open until the Sinquefields come back into the board.
Yeah, so very clever choices. Now, 26 moves, so move 26 to 30, the Sinquefields are going to be back in. So unless the game lasts another 25 moves, they'll only play those 5 moves. So the key question is, are they both going to use their 2 timeouts in that 5-move ban? Would you think that would be a wise decision?
I would definitely think that's a wise decision. I can't imagine them saving the timeout for a possible endgame, because that endgame might not happen if they don't use the timeout. They might just blunder something, they make a strong strategical mistake that they might think is an okay move, but when you're talking about 2800 level chess, it might not be at all.
So the move knight to e1 has just been played.
And Kasparov is thinking deeply about this move. It's actually a very lovely Magnus Carlsen style of move. The knight retreats, and it allows white to push his pawn to f4. It's going to be harassing this knight on e5 that's powerfully placed. And more importantly than that, Magnus doesn't want to trade pieces. He wants to keep as many pieces on the board for as long as possible.
Indeed. And now knight to d7 is and we've got Levana and Fabiano Caruana, our Sinquefield Cup champion.
It was an interesting maneuver that we saw Kasparov play, actually, because he moved the knight to d7, and after Carlsen played the move c3, knight d5, and Carlsen retreated his knight, Kasparov did the same. He retreated his own knight, as if saying, hey, your knight on e1 is not doing anything, I'll simply retreat mine as well.
Oh, but that was not fair. Come on.
Wow, they're playing really quickly, Alejandro, aren't they? It seems like we're not going to have too many issues with time pressure in this game, at least in the early part, huh?
I think somebody needs to tell them we're not in the Blitz portion yet. We are still in the rapid section, which gives the players plenty of time to think about their moves. But right now, as I said, I think Levon Aronian loves this kind of positions. It's very positional, it's very English-like, and he's simply making natural moves. He's brought his knight to the center where it belongs. It's a perfect outpost for the knight, although I am kind of wondering, what if Caruana plays the paradoxical knight d e5, moving the knight on the 4th time in a row, but attacking this weak knight on c4, which doesn't want to get traded off. It's definitely a possibility.
F4 by Team Randy.
And we see actually a couple of moves played relatively quickly. Caruana did decide to attack the knight on c4, but not through knight d5. He played knight b6 instead. And Aronian took a very Carlsen approach. Instead of trading off the knights, he decided that he wanted to retreat it, keep the pieces on the board, play knight e3. And we see even more knight maneuvers, and that's very surprising to me. We see as if this bishop on c8 doesn't want to be defined, it doesn't want to be developed just yet. The knight goes to a5, and Aronian went ahead and played f4, which is Carlsen's idea of retreating the knight to e1. We see a couple more moves. c4 was played, a very, very strange idea actually, because it does seem like it gives up the center. Caruana is here forcing white to play the move d4, which he is more than happy to play, obtaining a bunch of central squares. Notice how beautiful these two pawns are, controlling everything on the 5th rank. However, it does leave some weaknesses, especially as this knight might come to b3 for the outpost, and Caruana's decided it's time to strike back at the center. He's not going to give Team Randy any control over it easily, and he plays e5.
And let's go and see what Grandmaster Maurice Ashley has to say about these games so far. He's up in the boardroom with the players right now.
Thanks, Jen. They're having a ball up here. People are trash talking each other left and right. Let's go to some of the players. Gary, so far you've played some moves. What do you think about the game so far?
Not sure I made the best moves. But yes, we'll see what happens now. I think it's dangerous for us.
Let's get Rex. Rex, do you like your lineup, or you think they might be too weak for you?
I think they should resign right now. I don't even know why they're still playing. I mean, if you had a position like that, would you be playing?
There's a lot of trash talking going on up here. Randy, are you going to take that from Rex?
You know, since his birthday was yesterday, this is the first time he's ever been twice my age, precisely. So I think he's going a little senile on me. With as much time as Gary took on his moves, I think that Black's in trouble. And Hikaru seems confident that we should wrap this up pretty soon.
Let's get world champion Magnus Carlsen in here. Magnus, your moves were stayed, calm. Are you confident with the position?
Well, my moves were, I thought I'd put the pieces in kind of strange positions because I know Levon enjoys improving bad pieces. So he enjoys playing instructive chess to teach, especially Maxim, but also the rest of us, a bit about the basics of chess. So I think our position is good, and I think Levon is happy as well.
Levon, what do you have to say about that?
I do think my pupils, they accomplish their task, and so it's all about wrapping it up.
All right, guys, a lot of jocularity going on around here. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Maurice. Levon Aronian, he's got to be not only the best bughouse player in the world, but the best trash talker. What do you think? Best combination player / trash talker.
Definitely. Do you think that's why he's a good bughouse player?
Maybe. Good point, indeed. He is just absolutely hilarious. At Rex's birthday party, he was playing on a partner team with Maxime, who's actually a foe of his today. And nobody could stop laughing, including Gary and Magnus.
And they're playing a strong team. They're playing the Italian-American duo of Hikaru Nakamura and Fabiano Caruana.
That's right.
And they were doing quite well. They were actually doing quite well, not only over the board, but with the trash talking especially.
Oh, they were crushing in the trash talk. Let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, in the position, it was more interesting. The trash talking, Levon was a 10 on a scale from 1 to 10, and even Maxime was like probably really up there. Levon was coaching him on that.
No, I think he's learning the ways. He's simply learning the ways.
The pupils, that's what he said. And here we have Hikaru Nakamura with a broad smile, and he's playing against a very serious looking right now Maxime Bachir-Legrave.
Well, and actually I think MVL is not very happy with the position he was given by his peers. Actually, the move E5 by Fabiano Caruana, his 15th move, a very determining move, sacrificing a pawn. But he says, hey, the next move is the 16th. You can do whatever you want with the position. And after bishop d7, MVL has decided that he wants to give up this pawn on e5. He didn't want to define the center. And it seems that Hikaru Nakamura decided, hey, this pawn's free. I'm going to go ahead and take it. He plays knight takes e5. Maxime Bachir seems like he's forced to take on e5 with the bishop. Trade on e5. And he plays bishop takes a4, not caring about the weaknesses of the dark squares around the king. So now strategically black is better. His pawn structure is definitely superior to white's. But we have the problem that he might just get checkmated on the other side.
Indeed, that does look quite dangerous. So you prefer white here, huh?
I do prefer white simply because in a rapid game, especially the lower the time control, the more important your king's safety is. All the tactics seem to work against people that are defending. So in this case, of course, Team Randy decided to avoid the queen trade with queen f3. Quickly, knight b3 was played, and after the moves knight g4, we have a player switch. We have Veselin Topalov now with the white pieces going to make the 21st move. But for the moment, MVL is trying to decide, hey, there's a free rook here on a1. Should I take it, or am I going to get checkmated on the dark squares of the king side?
I think B. It looks really dangerous, doesn't it? So let's see. Let's take a look at that line. So if knight takes a1,
So knight takes a1 gives us several possibilities.
we could start with knight f6.
Knight
check.
f6 check is a good way to start, trying to make the king move. It must go to
normally-
h8. And now I would love to be able to attack this h7 pawn with my queen. Unfortunately, I don't have an angle to do it right away.
No.
And if I'm too slow, for example, by playing queen f4, threatening queen h6, maybe black has just enough time to play the move knight d7, hold on to the position by attacking the knight on
I'm
f6.
sure though, because if queen h6 here, oh, and then after, so if queen h6 is maybe not the most accurate, because now after knight takes f6, I was thinking about playing bishop g5 actually.
Ah, bishop g5
But then
instead.
you might have knight g8.
Absolutely, the move knight g8, counter-attacking the queen on h6, preventing me from taking on d8 because you're way too many pieces down for you to consider the queen trade. This looks very bad for white, but I'm sure there are other possibilities for...
Indeed, like maybe queen h4 instead of queen to h6.
Absolutely, there are a lot of other resources. Maybe queen h4, as you said, is more dangerous. And in a rapid game, MVL didn't want to decide, hey, I'm going to take a rook and let my...
So we took one of White's key attacking pieces instead on c1. Maurice is back to talk to the bench, and White's attack is looking very dangerous. Veselin Sokolov actually about to make a move and changing his mind. Will we even get to Randy and Rex again, or is White's attack just going to crash through? What's Maurice got?
Well, the players all gasped as Hikaru Nakamura sacked a rook. They were wondering whether or not it was sound. But Maxime Vachier-Lagrave decided he didn't want to munch on the rook in the corner. He didn't want to get mated a lot easier. So we're going to go to Hikaru now. Hikaru, what do you think about your rook sack?
I think it's the best move in the position. Why not make the game fun? I think we would have won no matter what I did. So I'm just trying to make it more exciting.
I heard you say that this was Veselin's type of position. You had to give him an attacking game.
Yeah, we all know he's the best attacking player here. So I think he'll find a way to play 5 good attacking moves.
Fabiano, in the meantime, your teammate Yasser Sirwan called himself the resignation specialist. How do you feel about that?
I'm not worried at all. I just look at the teams. Look at us. We're all standing up. We're active. And look at these guys. They're all sitting down. I think they're a bunch of lazy players, and I don't think we'll have a problem at all. So I'm not worried. I have confidence in Yasser.
And Yasser, how do you feel about your own confidence in this position?
I'm saying my prayers. but we're consolidating. We're consolidating.
All right, they're having a lot of fun up here, guys. Exciting game. Explain the nuances. Back to you.
This is terrifying for Black, indeed. Thank you, Maurice, and to the players. And for those of you just joining us, this is a team match, and we've got 2 teams. Rex Sinquefield, founder of the Chess Club, has 4 grandmasters on his team. Randy Sinquefield, founder of Spectrum Studio, Rex's son, he's got 4 grandmasters on his team. And not just any grandmasters. We've got former world champion Garry Kasparov in town for Rex's birthday, Sync Cup champion Fabiano Caruana, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, Yasser Sirwan, who's being filled in with commentary by Grandmaster Alejandro Ramirez. And on Randy's team, we got world champion Magnus Carlsen, trash talk extraordinaire and world number 3 Levon Aronian, Hikaru Nakamura, US number 1, and Veselin Sokolov. Some legendary attacking players on Randy's team, and they are showing that right now.
Well, this legendary attack might lead to a legendary disaster for Black here in this position. I mean, this position just looks like it's winning for White somehow. And Topalov seems like he's consulting with his players. Am I not just winning here somehow? Black's king is so weak, it's hard to believe that he can resist such a position.
Are they taking, now remember, Randy and Rex are next up on the bench, but they do have 2 timeouts. So most likely, if White's attack is crashing through, right now, Randy might not even have to play too many moves. So what is the situation right now? Queen to e7 has just been played.
Yeah, Topalov seems like he is baffled at the position. He's talking about something. He's trying to figure out how to finish Black off. He's played a very obvious move, Queen h6.
Yeah, so we talked about that in a slightly different position. So that's threatening the crushing blow, knight f6 check.
Right.
So I think
Absolutely
Yasser
forced.
felt that it was necessary to play the move f6, right?
Yes, that move is absolutely forced, taking back some control over the dark squares. But still, it seems like he's not out of danger. Topal's taking on f6, which was one of two possibilities. He could also have moved the queen back to h4. Pinning that pawn on f6 also looked to me extremely dangerous. I'm not entirely sure what they had planned against that. Maybe the move queen c5 check was a possibility. But after e takes f6, knight takes f6 is absolutely forced, I'm assuming, and was played quickly.
That's right. And then we have move knight to g4 was just played.
No, queen g5 was played.
Queen g5 was just played.
Pinning the knight and also controlling the important c5 square so that this queen cannot unpin itself with the check. That's why the queen is going to g5 and not to h4. However, immediately king g7 was played, also to defend the knight on f6, and although this annoying pin exists on the board, it seems as if black is just barely holding on. But even more importantly, we're having a player switch.
That's right, and Yasser is shooing Veselin away and saying, welcome to the board, Randy. Randy, after king to g7, indeed, it's his move. So will he figure out what to do here? Now it's important to, what do you think white should do here? There's a couple candidate moves come to mind. He can bring his rook on c1 into the game, play a little bit slower, or what happens on e5 immediately?
e5
that
immediately,
needs to be checked. There's,
I think queen c5 check, king h1, knight takes g4. Might not be so bad for black, it might be okay. I would be more concerned if white immediately goes knight e3 in this position.
Oh, that's a nice one. So threatening knight to f5 check immediately.
Knight f5 with a double threat on the king and the queen, but also the knight is hitting this weak pawn on c4 that nobody actually thought about. And it makes the move e5 even stronger because you won't have a check to play on c5.
And you might be able to wiggle out with a move like knight d5, but maybe not.
Wow,
And
it
so
seems
somebody
like
is screaming.
it seems like there's some cheering going on.
What happened? Did
Team
Randy play a
Randy.
move that was liked?
No, even worse.
Ah.
It's Rex that blundered something in this position.
Indeed, he did. He played, after e5, he played knight to h5, which leaves the queen on e7 hanging.
We were just talking about how it was crucial
to
that
call a timeout. In fact, Randy
Exactly.
probably should have called a timeout in this exact position, but it feels weird to do that.
I think that e5 was an okay move. I think that it wasn't necessarily a timeout-worthy moment, but definitely
If you have 2 timeouts in 5 moves, you might as well make it.
maybe. But at this point, actually, a timeout was needed because black has 2 concrete ways of defending himself. He can play queen c5 check, which we analyzed, or retreat the knight to g8, defending the queen. Rex felt confident about his abilities. He moved the knight to h5, but unfortunately for him, the queen on e7,
It's just unprotected.
it's just completely
and again,
unprotected.
not Blitz yet. This is the rapid portion, and I think that is definitely what is rattling both Randy and Rex. They're playing very quickly. Maurice?
Guys, a big disaster on the board, as you have seen. Team White over here is huddled over, not happy at all. Yasser, what are your thoughts on this position?
Shoot me now.
Maxime?
I think the next player will gonna be up on the board is gonna resign.
Gary, you're good friends with Rex. What do you have to say to him about this last move?
We call it a senior moment.
Yes,
It was a senior moment. That's all it was.
Randy, let me get your opinion on the brilliant move you played, taking a queen on e7.
Well, I warned him, you know, stepping up against me, he's going to have to play his best, and that's definitely not his best. I'd say a senior moment for sure. I mean, 70 years old, but gotta take it easy on him next game.
give your dad a break. Rex, what are your explanation for the blunder? Was it the intimidation of having to play against all these grandmasters?
I think I picked the wrong day to give up drugs.
All right, guys, a tough moment for this team. They've resigned, unfortunately, and we'll get to the second game.
All right, so no timeouts called in this game. So we're going to have, I think, a few minutes of break, and then we're going to get right back up on the horse, and we're going to play white for Team Rex and black for Team Randy in exactly the same format.
And I think Team Rex has learned its lesson. They will definitely be taking the timeouts when they need to next time.
Yeah, well, both players, I think. Honestly, I really think both of them, technically, according to these rules, it makes most sense to take the timeout in the beginning, because then you can also get a sense of what your team thinks. Because it's not like they just give you a move, they give you a whole sense of the position. So strategically, the best decision, even though it feels weird, is just to take a timeout and move 26. I think it's very clear.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you.
But, you know, we're kind of like video game, poker, game theory type people, huh?
Well, yeah. In some ways, but it seems as Rex got very punished for this. And it was funny because Magnus Carlsen sat at the position after the move Rook F1, and whoever had to play that position with Black was going to have to play the world champion of chess down a queen. Not a pretty sight.
Oh, no, I think Magnus would be enjoying himself there, or maybe not, maybe kind of bored. And so we've got the same teams. The difference now is that Team Rex has white and Team Randy has black. So we're going to see the same exact format. Really, the key thing here, I think, is that both Randy and Rex should slow down. You don't need to blitz out in those first 5 moves, and certainly not on moves 26 to 30.
I think they got carried away by the quickness of the players before them. They saw that everybody was blitzing on their moves. Everybody had a very interesting understanding of the position, but they can do it. They're 2,800 players.
Yeah.
Randy and Rex, well, they have plenty of time that was left by their partners to think in their position, and they didn't use it.
Well, that's one of the reasons 2,800 players and 2,700 players are playing so quickly, is because they also want to make sure that there's a cushion for Rex and Randy for their amateur partners. Because, I mean, honestly, is it going to make... Topalov, I think, was the exception, because for white, I think finding an accurate move in that attack was kind of important.
Well,
when you're attacking.
I think Topalov made an excellent decision of leaving the initiative on Randy's side. I think that it's very important that when the position comes back to Randy or Rex, that the amateur players are left without any threats to themselves, that they can create threats on their opponents. That way, if your opponent misses the threat, great. If he moves out of the threat, no harm, no foul.
And here we've got an interesting opening. So Rex playing 1e4, as he also played yesterday. We actually had a little birthday dinner game where everybody at the birthday dinner played a chess move, and he played e4 and said best by test. And then the rest of the guests completed the game. And I believe Randy played a modern defense.
G6, I believe?
Yeah, so basically a similar opening. Basically what he's doing is playing the same kind of thing he played last game, but for the black side. Of course, the difference is that white gets a much bigger initiative when they have an extra move.
I think it's going to be okay. I think it's a very good, safe decision to play in the first 5 moves because it's not one of those sharp openings where you can mess it up in the first 5 moves. This one, he's going to come out alive, he's going to come out fine, and more importantly, the grandmasters are going to know how to fix whatever happened in the position.
Indeed, indeed. So bishop g7 quickly. Now it looks like Rex actually thinking a little bit now. Just probably trying to think about what move order. No, actually it looks like it's Randy's move. Okay, so I think we must have had one more move by Rex. Let's see if we can get an update on that board. Indeed,
Bishop c4 was
he played
played.
bishop to c4, and now knight f6 played by Randy.
And this is actually a theoretical variation. I just wonder if they know that.
Knight to c3 played by Rex. So there are some possibilities of knight takes e4.
Knight takes e4 immediately is possible, but it's also okay to simply castle in this position.
And I think that's probably what Randy will do. I mean, it's the more sensible option in a way to just...
You have 2 options. You can sacrifice a knight and hope it works with all your 2,800 buddies, or you can castle like a normal person. I think we're going to see castling.
Indeed, I agree. I believe so. And look, we already got Rex, no longer Rex. It's Gary Kasparov, and now we have Magnus Carlsen. And they look happy to get back in the game. These players...
Send in the B team.
Well, Randy didn't do anything particularly wrong in the opening. That's for an amateur player. But at the 2,800 level of chess, this will be a completely unacceptable way of starting the position. White's gotten away with a lot of things, including the development of his knight so early. We were talking about the trick knight takes e4, which basically avoids this specific variation, which means that White has a slight advantage. Is that going to matter? Not after move 25.
No, I totally agree with you, but definitely Rex's team is going to be looking for getting an initiative, like you mentioned. I think the interesting thing about White is that it matters a lot at the very high level, but it also matters at the amateur level. It's kind of like in between where sometimes it matters less.
Maybe you're correct about that one. We have a couple of quick moves by the players, and this is what I was talking about. Look how quickly they're playing. And it's important for Randy and Rex not to get caught up in that and play quickly when it's their turn.
And Maurice is up with the players about how they think this opening is shaping up.
Well, thanks, Jen. Before the game, Rex Sinquefield said, "I'm pissed," and he played a super aggressive line. So we're going to go to him now. Rex, how are you feeling after the last game?
Victorious.
And Randy, what did it feel like when it was your turn and former world champion chess legend Garry Kasparov sat down right in front of you?
I got to say, it's incredibly intimidating. I didn't want to do anything stupid.
And what do you guys think about the position, Lev?
I like our position, you know, but I always like my position, so it's normal.
And Hikaru, you guys won a pretty easy game last time. Your expectations this time?
Every position just keeps looking better and better. I couldn't agree more than with what Levon said.
Veselin, you guys were quoting a game from yours against Gary a long time back where you lost a famous Pearl of Vaikanze, I believe it was. What are you thinking about this one?
No, we just have to be solid, and then Randy, he'll find some, I think, a way to win. So just...
It's all on Randy.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's get the white team over here. Fabiano, you guys lost a bad game. This is the first game of the competition that you've lost. You had a fantastic tournament as the winner. What are you feeling now about this game?
Yeah, I think we'll get revenge. I'm not worried. They were playing a bit, they played the Pirk. You can't play the Pirk at this level.
Yes.
So, not worried.
Bad choice of opening. Maxime, your thoughts?
Well, it's transposed to Alekhine, actually. No, it's some kind of Alekhine. It's definitely better for white. And I trust Fabiano for some 5 powerful moves from Fabiano, and it will be 1-0, yeah, as he should.
Yes, sir. The claim from Maxime is that you guys are going to be 1-0 after the next 5 moves. Do you think you're going to hold this up?
Hope so. It's very tense game at the moment, and Magnus is playing for a draw, but we don't want to give it to him.
Very excited players. A lot of trash talking, guys. Back to you.
Loving that trash talk. So Fabiano Caruana told Maurice Ashley, who's upstairs there in the boardroom, that you can't play the Pirk at this level. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave said he agreed that he liked White's position, but it's now an Alekhine. Meanwhile, Levon Aronian said that he thinks it's always a good position for him. What do you think, Alejandro? What do you think about the opening?
I think that whoever just played this with white underestimated a little bit what black's threats were. We see this
Bishop
queen.
G5, you mean?
Well, we have a few more moves. And the last move that was played was C3, I believe, by Fabiano.
That would be Fabiano, yeah. So
And
Gary
Levon.
played the move Bishop G5.
Yes, and Levon quickly played the move Queen D5, and I really like this move. And you see Fabiano thinking a little bit, because he's going to have to take back Gary's move. He's going to have to move this bishop that's currently under attack by the queen away from G5, and I think that gives white just about enough lack of tempi to claim any kind of advantage. I think black's just doing fine. I expect a lot of pieces to be traded on F3, and that will lead to an unclear endgame.
Indeed, we've got an endgame already, in fact. So bishop takes F3 was played, and queen takes F3, queen takes F3, pawn takes F3. White didn't want to double the pawns in the middle game, so instead transposing into the second game where white has the 2 bishops, but a worse pawn structure. Who do you prefer here?
I'm a bishops guy. I'm a grandmaster, and I like bishops. That being said, this pawn structure is not the best. The most important thing that we're going to have to see is how long can I keep this bishop on F4 alive and well? Because if for some reason this bishop is ever traded for this bishop, it's going to be disastrous for white. The knight would come over and install itself on F4, and then black would have a huge advantage. But as long as white retains both bishops alive, I like white's chances.
Indeed, me too. So we do have a couple more moves in. Knight D5 was played, bishop D2, as you pointed out. Preserving that bishop is so important.
It's so important.
And now black played the move E5. So opening up the position for his rooks, but also giving the bishops potentially some more fire.
Well, I was actually a little surprised by the move A4, not to criticize 2800 chess, but I thought rook fe1 was a little bit more precise,
Yeah.
simply to prevent this coming e5 break from black.
It looks a little bit more natural, doesn't it?
Absolutely,
I
but
mean,
well,
also just attacking the pawn on e7.
I think Maxime Vacher knows what he's doing. He is grabbing some space on the queen side, although he does seem a little baffled now that e5 was played, because, as I said, imagine that this is traded off, and this bishop comes to f4, and this is one of the ugly scenarios we have in which these dark squared bishops are traded. We have a quick move after trading off the pawns, and bishop c4 was played, almost fearing the fact that a piece might come to f4. And the more I look at the position, the more I like black's chances now that
Indeed.
e5 was played.
Well, because you like this move, bishop f4, that could come up in the position even right now. And let's take a review, for those of you who are just tuning in, let's take a look at the result from last game. Team Rex lost, Team Randy won. So in order to restore the balance, Team Rex needs to win this game with white, but it's looking pretty solid for black. So it's all going to come down to move 26, and we're going to see how Randy and Rex handle themselves after playing all these great grandmasters.
There's not going to be a strong attack like the last time,
Exactly.
and I don't expect a huge amount of pieces to be in a hanging position or undefended. So I think there's a higher chance that we're not going to see a blunder, especially if Rex and Randy learn their lesson and actually use their timeouts this time. I think the position is just about even right now, but we only have one more player before Randy and Rex have to go back into the battlefield.
That's right. So this should be pretty interesting indeed. And don't forget we have Blitz after this.
I think the Blitz is going to be
The
amazing.
Blitz is going to be totally nuts. The Blitz is going to be crazy because then Randy and Rex are just going to be alternating moves with the grandmasters. So each grandmaster will play one at a time. It does look like everybody's having a really good time here, doesn't it? So
Wow.
after 10 days of stressful chess, they're just kicking back and having fun with this ultimate moves.
The atmosphere here in St. Louis has been absolutely amazing. It's not just that the tournament itself was hard fought and all the players were very focused. They got along great, and you saw it in the events that followed the Sinquefield Cup. You see it today. They're so friendly with each other. They love chess, and they love participating in this kind of side events that are just for fun.
That's right. So this is the current position we have on the board right now after bishop c4, and bishop f4 was played. And then rook fd1. Okay, so looking like advantage for black, huh? Some strategic edge for black.
Well, I think that,
Oh, you think he's just going to play bishop takes d5 here?
well, we have a couple of moves on
Yeah,
the
it's
board.
probably better,
that-
right? Oh, no?
Well, we have a couple of the moves on the board, and it seems like Yasser wasn't as worried as I was about that knight coming to f4, and Topalov agreed with him. We have on the board a position that has 3-on-3 on the queen side when we talk to pawns, 3-to-3 on the king side as well. But on the other hand, white's pawn structure on f3 and f2 is ruined. White does have a bishop to compensate for it, but it's unclear if it's enough.
I don't think so, especially in Rapid and Blitz. I think that I always got to prefer those knights. They're tricky. Of course, I like the two bishops, but when you're playing Blitz or Rapid, it's nice to have a knight because it can fork pieces.
You think so? Legendary.
Very profound.
Legendary
Yeah, I know.
1-minute player Larry Christensen told me once, in 1-minute chess, never resign as long as you have a knight.
Ah, very good. Okay, so Larry Christensen, many-time U.S. chess champion, agrees that keep the knights in the board.
And you can see the atmosphere, you can hear the atmosphere at the upstairs, just so joyful. And
Yeah,
it
people are
seems
laughing, even in this position, which doesn't seem quite as
quite as interesting as the last time.
No, indeed, but that's a credit to black for, I think, maybe some small inaccuracies there by white, a little bit tepid, instead of really trying to gain that huge initiative that they got last game.
I think so too. I think both players are starting to think about how are we going to leave this position to our amateur players. And they're taking their sweet time actually deciding how to do this.
Right, so some interesting psychological points here, indeed. I think Yasser just made a move. Yes, he played bishop b3. Now Topalov really getting into it and talking. He needs to be the one who's most talkative when he's on move, right?
It almost seems like he's the one trying to take a timeout. Is he allowed to consult with his other grandmasters?
Dude, you just came third in the tournament.
Who can you ask advice from?
You're good at this game. former world champion, of course, and massive lover of chess. You know, the inspiring thing about Topalov, remember, he came into the Sinquefield Cup from 0-2 and ended up fighting for second place in the tournament.
What an amazing cycle. He was actually down in the third game. It seemed as he was also had that one lost, and he comes back to finish third in an event where one player went +7, and the other one is world champion Magnus Carlsen, which has been dominating chess these past few years. He comes as if nothing, just back into the tournament.
And the oldest player in the field, which you mentioned, I mean, it is Rex Sinkefield's birthday, and yesterday Garry Kasparov gave a nice speech about all of the older people who've achieved amazing things, seniors
I don't know if he needs it.
Nelson Mandela, he mentioned. Harry Benson was in the room at 84 taking photos. And so it's nice to see some members of the older generation succeeding, although I don't know if you can quite call Vesselin old.
Well,
compared to these guys, I suppose.
I certainly would hope not. And remember that in the top 10 list, still the oldest player is Vishy Anand, who will be challenging Magnus Carlsen in Sochi, Russia. An announcement that wasn't made official until yesterday.
That's right. Magnus Carlsen said that he had such a great time signing autographs. He that was a little clever way to announce that he was playing.
It was quite something, and I think we're going to be very happy to see Magnus try to defend his title against the contender.
Yeah, I think it'll be even more interesting than last match, in fact.
And
Rex Sinquefield, getting a little talk from his buddy Yasser Sarwan. Right now, he is facing the intimidating task of facing Vesselin Topalov, and soon Randy Sinquefield is going to replace him. We're going to see that generational match again, Rex versus Randy. Now, both of these people, great businessmen, obviously. Rex Sinquefield invented the index pawn, and then he ended up doing a lot of amazing things in his life, culminating and founding the chess club.
And somehow, despite all that, I am very relieved that Topalov played a checking move, because it forced Rex to make the only legal move in the position, which just also turns out to be a very good move, King G2.
And now somebody took a timeout, it seems. And let's go up to Maurice and find out what's going on in that timeout.
Jen, they have a timeout, and they're discussing it right now.
If he moves that pawn there next to the bishop, 1 square forward, make sure he can't move it to the square ahead. Okay. Avoid that and don't move the pawn.
Gotcha.
Move the rook.
Okay.
Sometimes you can also put
I can
rook
do
B.
that.
Rook. Also sometimes rook here to attack. We are better. We are better.
As long as you keep this configuration.
Okay. Okay. I think I know what I'm supposed to do.
It's not bad for you. Okay. I mean, if you come here and plays the move, you can come and exchange the rook. Okay. That's fine for you. Because this is not weak.
All right, the game has resumed, guys, after that timeout. Back to you.
Thank you, guys. And the game has resumed. I was not totally sure. So Rex, when the timeout was called, it was actually called by Randy. So he was getting an overview on what's going on in this position by the grandmasters. So really smart choice by Randy Sinquefield, showing he really understands the rules of this format.
And I love the way they explain it to him. They explain the important parts of the position, and he now knows what to do. They explain to him, keep this structure as it is. Don't move it. And the grandmasters know that static formations always favor the knights. That way, you don't actually want to mess up the structure. You don't want to move the pawns on that side. You definitely never want to play the move c5, attacking that rook, because it would leave your pawn on b7 very, very undefended.
And the b6 square would be weakened too, because remember that knight, it might not seem like a good knight, but it is defending a really important square, that d7 square.
Absolutely.
So rook would love to go to d7 and have a ball on the 7th rank.
Randy seemed very confident about his knowledge of the position, and he quickly moved rook ae8, which seems to me the most natural move. You put the rook back in the game, you control the e-file entirely, and now it's Rex's time to think. And he played a move that I think, had he made some consultation with his partners, might not have been played.
Indeed, he probably should be consulting with his partners. I wonder if he understands the rules of this format as much as Randy, because it seems like he's reluctant to call timeouts, even though he's probably not going to get back into the game for move. Well, actually, in this game, maybe. In this game, they might get back to move 51.
I'm wondering if he has the genius idea that this will go in a very long time, and that he's going to use the consultation process at the second.
It could be. It could be. But remember, they have 2 timeouts, so we might as well use just one right now. I think he seems a little stubborn, like he doesn't maybe want to use that. And again, like you said, maybe thinks it's going to go the distance.
So far, he's playing pretty well. Randy offered a trade of rooks, and I think the more accurate move would have simply bring the king to f3, attack the rook immediately, but he decided to first swap rooks on e4, and I'm not entirely sure that's so good because you can see that this rook is now quite active on the 4th rank, and I'm a little bit worried if he puts the rook on d4 at any point, rook e2 can come in and attack this pawn on b2.
Exactly. So that would be dangerous. So probably he wants to start with playing.
Yeah, king f3 is the move that I would be expecting. Actually, any other move might leave him in a little bit of danger.
Indeed.
But look at Rex. As if he had
Wait, he has played king to f3, or he
yeah,
called a
he
timeout?
absolutely played king
Ah,
f3.
you played king f3. I didn't see it yet. Okay.
Well, you don't need a timeout if you can play like
King
a genius.
f3. Indeed. Maybe right now should use a timeout, and they're done.
Yeah.
So pretty well played in this case. Now there is one tactical possibility of knight a4, but doesn't seem very good. Not a good moment to sack an exchange. Ah, and there was a timeout, it seems. Was that called by Rex?
I believe
Or
that was called by
Randy?
Randy, very smartly using his second
Indeed.
timeout. But I see that Rex isn't using that in vain. He's also consulting with his players.
Randy has called his second timeout after Rex's brilliant choice of king f3. All the grandmasters approved it, and now they're trying to give Randy some advice on the other team.
So we're just trying to exchange the rook. Maybe
And I-
they'll
and I
give
just-
us a check, then
and I
we
just-
can bring the rook
We
back.
are a little bit better. If once we exchange rooks, maybe not winning, but a little bit better.
Okay, and I just have the last 2 moves to make, right?
Yeah, just bring the rook there and
Okay.
then try to move the rook
Alright.
And
over
if he
one
checks
side.
you,
Alright,
if he
alright, we're in
checks
good
you,
shape.
if he checks you, then again you want to change. You try to change.
Okay.
You block, yeah.
Okay,
And if they play something with this pawn,
Then
you can take that.
right.
You can go rook e5.
Or bring the rook here.
back.
Okay, okay. Simple enough, fair enough.
Or
I got it.
you still have your idea, rook
Yeah,
e7.
yeah.
Randy, that confuse you or you got
No,
it?
no, no, I'm in good shape. We're good.
All right, guys, back to you in the studio.
All right, so both timeouts used by Randy, and actually, in this case, I do disagree with the timeout calling because I think that it will make it to move 50, and I think that Randy might want that timeout back because he has no more left.
On the other hand, I love the concepts that the grandmasters are giving the amateur players.
Yeah.
And I think Randy wouldn't have been able to figure this out himself. But mostly unanimously, they said, keep the rooks on the board. You must keep the rooks on the board because the grandmasters know that the bishop against knight moves can become very, very unpleasant, and they don't want to be defending that kind of position. Therefore, f5 was not played. They're worried that this structure would be weak in a possible endgame if the rooks are traded with rook e2. And for this reason, they said, hey, bring the rook back. Make it safe. Don't trade the rooks. They said very explicitly, if Rex goes rook e2, don't trade them. Just put it on d7. If Rex
Yeah,
goes
probably.
f5,
Yeah.
simply take the pawn. No danger to you at all. Quick rook e7 was played, and I believe that after
Rook
rook
d8 check,
d8,
rook e8, and now Gary and Magnus, world champions, are facing off again.
well, why did they play rook e8? I thought the whole point of this was not to trade rooks.
Interesting, indeed. And now Gary Kasparov is in a critical moment, and he's taking this seriously. Let's hear what they're saying. Right now they're being totally silent in respect of Gary Kasparov's focus. I don't blame them.
Now he's playing Magnus Carlsen, and I think he wants to prove that he can outplay the world champion even if it's only 5 moves.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is super intimidating, Gary Kasparov. Even Randy said that just playing his final move when he didn't even actually have to face any of Gary's moves, it was like, whoa.
Kasparov decided not to take the rooks. He decided, let's go back with my own rook to d4, but it seems unlikely in a must-win situation that you can keep the rooks and really try for much. At the moment, it seems like Black's position is very solid, and White's the one that has to push. After all, Team Randy did take game number 1.
That's true, although there is a blitz portion, so I suppose you can always come back in that. But the rapid champion.
What do you think? With Rex, it ain't Kibitz.
You think the rook check was better? You told me to do it.
A little controversy in our team is Gary kind of recommended the rook check and the trade rook. Rex made the rook check, but Gary second guessed himself and took his move back. Rex is wondering, didn't I do it right? Didn't I do it as we said? I said, yeah. Gary just had second thoughts. You're saying Gary was trying to improve on Rex Sinquefield's moves?
No, Rex was playing Gary's moves, and then Gary had a second. He had a doubt.
He looks intense right now, like overwhelming, like the champion he was. You played him several times already. You've seen this game base before.
Oh yeah, this is the intimidation factor. We're hoping it's going to work out, but our position doesn't give Gary an opportunity to show his attacking prowess.
Especially with Magnus Carlsen. He's a pretty cool guy. This would have been a great matchup to see in a world championship now.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
And they're both deep in thought right now.
Boy, they are definitely in it. Boy.
Yeah, you know what to do. All right, guys, back to you.
All right, so interesting there. We find that Rex and Randy both playing well in their 5 moves, actually, I think.
I think they did fantastic.
Yeah.
They made moves that any 2800 could reasonably make. Maybe because they got some assistance, but certainly they make really good moves. And I think that at this point, Kasparov and Carlsen are taking it so seriously simply because this is such a Carlsen position. This is the kind of endgames that Carlsen excels at. Somehow he magically finds his opportunities to do something in positions that seem equal. And at this point, Garry Kasparov has played the move f5. It's not really a pawn sacrifice because it seems that after pawn takes f5, there must be some way of rounding up this weak pawn on f5, although I can't figure out exactly what it would be immediately. For example, if I played the move rook f4, I would have rook e5. But
You also have to worry about rook b1 in the position as well sometimes.
right, but I wouldn't want to play rook b1 right away. I would be so afraid of this rook coming in and taking all of my pawns.
Taking all the little guys.
Right.
Indeed. And these guys look really intense. They're ready to get back in. Fabiano's racing to get back in from the bench, and he's only got to wait a couple more moves. But I think this will cycle back to Rex and Randy. I think this game is going to go to the distance. What do you think? And let's say agree to a draw before they get to them.
No, I doubt it. This seems like it's a long game, and I think both sides are pushing for the win. So we'll definitely see a fight, a 2800 level fight. And we see that Magnus Carlsen actually did take that pawn on f5, saying, hey, how are you going to take it back exactly? I was mentioning that there are ways to defend this pawn, so I'm trying to figure out exactly what Kasparov has in mind. He decided to play the move rook d8 check, a very clever idea. If you trade rooks like we did in the previous variation, then after trading here and playing king f4, we had mentioned that sometimes this kind of knight versus bishop endings can become very unpleasant, and Carlsen is in no mood to play in an unpleasant position.
Even though he's mostly going to be leaving his teammates to it. So instead he played king g7, but then Garry Kasparov revealing the idea to get behind the b-pawn, play rook to b8.
And then quickly we have a move by Magnus
Rook e7.
Carlsen, rook e7, which is pretty much forced, defending the weak pawn on b7. And White has quite a bit of activity in this position, but at the same time he is down a pawn. It's a weak pawn on f5, but it is a pawn. We'll see if he can get it back easily.
King f4, and now both players seem to be reluctant to get up. They want to keep playing. Magnus and Garry would like to just finish this out, world champion versus world champion, but not two slouches replacing them. Instead, we have world's number 2 and number 3, Fabiano Caruana, the winner of the Sinquefield Cup, and none other than Garry Kasparov called it the best tournament performance of all time. And he's playing against Levon Aronian.
It's quite a high praise when Kasparov says that. And right now we have Levon Aronian playing with an extra pawn against Fabiano Caruana, but there are some subtleties in the position. The last move by Carlsen was the move king f6, threatening rook e4 in some variations, simply kicking the king out of f4. And it seems logical maybe to simply play the move f3, playing for some sort of zugzwang. But I know that Caruana is calculating exactly how to squeeze as much as possible from the position.
And let's go up to Maurice, and he's going to give us some behind the scenes on what's going on up there in this very high-rated room.
Thanks, Jen. Well, you saw some tense moments. Garry Kasparov against Magnus Carlsen, world champion from the past with the world champion of the present, and they were intense. They were serious. That jocularity left the room for a second, as though people thought that this was a matchup everybody wanted to see. Kasparov found a pawn sacrifice, as you know he did. And the game now has settled down a little bit. Magnus could have traded off and gone into an end game, simplify everything by sacrificing on a4, but his team said, no, we want to play for the win. One moment in the game, Topalov, when Magnus was thinking for some time, said, Magnus, do you want a timeout? Of course, the young world champion laughed. So they're back at it, and they seem a little bit less tense now. Of course, whenever Levon Aronian is sitting down, there's always a joke to be had. Back to you guys.
What do you think, Yasser?
Indeed, Levon Aronian, hilarious. And after the move F3, what do we want?
And we see a come get me kind of gesture from Levon Aronian after playing the move Rook D7. He knows
Nakamura, Akobian, US Open,
White that has to prove
2006
why exactly
was that?
did you sacrifice this pawn? Karina trying to make sense of Kasparov's idea.
No draw,
right.
no draw.
You being Gary Kasparov.
We have an extra pawn, and he has a weakness.
I think that's
I'm going to explode.
Don't forget that B2 is weak as well.
How many weaknesses?
Well, we see that the mood has lighted up quite a bit now that Kasparov and Carlsen and you have H4 played.
Yeah, so
I'm just going to provoke him.
Think, what would the Frenchman do?
we're going to let you enjoy some of the legendary trash talk
The
here.
French school of chess would teach you what's the best move here.
Levon, you have clearly very easy win in 3-4 moves.
No, I can see.
In a row.
You know what I mean?
You know what you win, but you also know it's not a win.
It is, I think, a win. It's just a win.
What do the French people do in this case?
Ask Monsieur Fressinet. He's more French than you are. The champion.
I don't like cheese, I cannot do it. I think the French style is this, you know?
Whoa! What kind of trashy move is that?
It's French, yes. It's too subtle for you.
Called by Yasser
Too
Sarwan.
subtle for you, my friend.
Rook C7.
You know, he called it a French style move, but I love the move actually, Rook C7. Behind every good trash talker are incredible moves of chess. And Rook C7, despite the fact that it looks so awkward, is actually preparing the maneuver Knight D7, Knight C5, which is pretty much everything that black wants from this position.
This is not the French style.
No, C5 was too rough. Too rough.
Trash talk of himself.
Gary Kasparov not looking happy here.
Well, it was his pawn sacrifice, let's not forget that. And it's Karane up to fix this kind of position because he's down a pawn. He has several choices in this position, but this bishop doesn't have that much future. It must guard the position on d5 at the moment. It cannot allow knight d5 to come in, but at the same time, the bishop is being threatened indirectly by this knight d7, knight c5 maneuver.
That was my intention when I played rook d7, but then I thought guys are saying to play c5, and so I should play.
But it seems like Aronian's good.
Don't worry, Fabiano. I got you covered. It's going to be painless.
Trash talker tells you, don't worry.
I don't think I could not be worried about my position if I was ever playing Levon Aronian.
And if he said don't worry, you'd be more worried, right?
I'd be sweating bullets. And I think Aron is actually feeling a little bit of the pressure of the position. He hasn't played in a while, considering with the speed.
Indeed, less than 10 minutes for Team Randy. Team Randy, we can see these clock times. And I think the interesting thing is going to be when Randy and Rex get off from the bench. Randy's used his timeouts, but Rex actually didn't use his too. But it seems that the timeouts are kind of communal. So if somebody takes a timeout, both players get to use it. So strategically, Rex will have an interesting decision there.
Yeah, the importance is that you can decide when to take those timeouts.
Yes.
And that might be important.
I don't know what to do. But he has 95.
A dramatic moment where Yasser Sarwan insisted that Fabiano Caruana, the winner of the Sinquefield Cup, the greatest tournament performance by rating ever, call a timeout, and they're in deep discussion.
There are no winning chances, but there are no.
You remember, Rex is going to be coming up with Randy. Now Rex is going to be. Rex is going to be coming up against Randy, so we got to give him some winning chances. What?
No.
Wait, maybe king e3 here?
King E3 now?
Yeah. Is that possible?
Possible, maybe. But knight
Pro.
D7.
Okay, I'll play rook h8.
Rook h8 will worse, but okay, but worse, but it's just, I don't. Rook d8, rook d7, I'm afraid, and then we just, then you have to.
Yeah, and then you can actually go back to g3 after knight d5, bishop takes take.
You can go rook d8, rook d8, rook d7, rook h8, for instance.
And what does it have?
No, so before you play king g3.
Yes, rook d8,
But then,
the rook d8, rook d7,
rook d8, rook d8.
rook d8, and then rook d7, and check this one. Check this one.
A heated debate, guys, and it looks as though Carano is ready with the nuance. They're betting that when Rex comes back against Randy, Rex will have some winning chances. We'll see if that transpires. Back to you.
Wow, with such amazing players, we never expected that the timeouts would be used by one of the 2,800 players. An absolute shocker.
Not one of the 2,800 players. I thought this guy just had a 3,100 rating performance right here in St. Louis a couple of days ago, and they told him, hey, how about you take a little break, talk it over with us.
Well, it was pretty entertaining for us to watch, honestly. I mean, to see Gary Kasparov and Fabiano Caruana and Maxime discuss what to do in the position was priceless. But at the same time, from a game theory point of view, I think it was a poor decision. Save those 2 timeouts for when Randy Sinquefield is on play, because maybe they'll be more useful then.
I think what they were worried about is that Caruana was going to play too correctly. I think that if you see the position from a very specific point of view, a very theoretical point of view, White should probably start thinking about equality, trade off some pieces, go into a draw. But they want to keep the position active. They're banking on the fact that Rex might play better the endgame than Randy, and they want to save that kind of position where it can still have some life.
Interesting. Yeah, perhaps that's the reason. So they had their own psychological idea. I mean, we shouldn't forget that the timeout is interesting, because when Rex takes a timeout, Randy's team also gets to confer.
That's true, but what if their game theory is that after this happens, there will be no timeout taken by them?
Balls are opposite sides.
That's why I read that in your endgame book, yeah.
Very interesting.
That might be a little bit of a trickier piece. I'm not sure what kind of tactics can be generated by this pure rook and bishop, but perhaps we'll find out.
Are you worried about your student falling for a knight fork?
Knight forks and blitz are pretty hard. I mean, we're not quite at blitz yet, so I think that's okay, but I think that Maxime and Levon, it's particularly Maxime because it's only 8 minutes, I think he wants to try to make quick moves so that when Rex subs in, he doesn't feel too much pressure.
Well, we actually have a move that made the position really sharp. Aronian has the choice of playing knight takes a4, allowing bishop takes h7, after which knight takes b2 would net black an extra pawn, passed and connected. But at the same time, white does have this pawn, which is further advanced. The rook is already controlling the queening square, and it's supported by the bishop.
When bishops are better than knights with those passed pawns on both sides of the board, because, for instance, the bishop could come to b1 and stop a2 while supporting the pawn coming to h7, whereas the knight, of course, is intended that way. There's no way it can support the pawn push and stop the h-pawn.
And Aronian just went for it. He thought about it for a couple minutes, decided, bring it on. Knight takes a4 was played, sharpening the position. And it seems as MVL is giving it a little think. He has a couple of ways of taking an h7, including first pushing the pawn to b3, trying to not let black have immediately a passed pawn, sacrificing the pawn on c3 instead. But this seems a little questionable. It does seem as bishop h7 makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, because if knight takes c3, then after bishop c7, you have knight d5 check, and I think you would have... I don't know about that. Like, that knight seems closer to doing things that it might want to do.
Absolutely, I agree with you 100%, but we're going to see what MVL has in mind. He's thinking about the position, but played bishop takes h7, and now he's facing Hikaru Nakamura, a very sharp player, somebody that loves these kind of positions where calculation is demanded because he can do it so quickly and so efficiently. But he also has to calculate enough moves ahead and realize that some of those are made by Randy.
Although, don't forget, we have one more pair in between Randy and Rex. We do have Yasser Serouan and Veselin Topalov stepping in after NVO and Hikaru, and actually both of these players renowned for their rapid and blitz skills. But somehow Hikaru seems to be a little bit more engrossed. NVL seems like a little bit more happy.
Well, I think Team Rex is just happy that there's a sharp position. They just want to go for it. They want to make the position sharp. They want to make sure that black is allowed to make a mistake when Randy comes in. And it's true that we still have two players coming in after this, but at some point, the pawn race will only become sharper and sharper and sharper. Already we see MVL quickly blitzing out the move h5, threatening to put the pawn in almost lethal position. h6 is coming quickly, and it's up for black, Hikaru Nakamura, to figure out, should I stop it, or should I first push my pawn on the queen side? I expect the move king g7, simply defending against the pawn push h6, but it's not the only move in the board by any means.
Now we do have one hilarious tweet coming in from Grandmaster Jans Gustafsson, whose thoughts on this game are that Rex did well, but that older guy who followed him seems to have blundered a pawn. Of course, he's taking a jab at Garry Kasparov's pawn sacrifice, which, if you think about it in terms of this hyper-competitive, you lost the first game, you want to win the rapid, really makes a lot of sense. And you got to figure Kasparov wouldn't have done it otherwise.
Oh, they're going all out.
Yeah.
They're giving black as many chances to sharpen the position as possible, and maybe in a real game, black wouldn't have gone for these complications, but hey, it's a rapid, they want to win too. They said, let's go for it.
Now, they have a chance to come back in the Blitz, let's not forget, but to win the rapid portion, they have to win this game. And the Blitz will be an entirely different animal where we're really going to have a winner and a loser. There will be no draw or split match, because once your bench is gone, you lose in that.
This is true, and after the move h5, it seems as if Hikaru has played the move king g7, and now MVL is thinking a little bit. He needs to know where to place this bishop on h7. It doesn't really make sense to put it on g8. It doesn't help your progress of the pawn at all. So you have to put it in this diagonal somewhere. It makes sense to put it on b1 because it stops the pawn when it comes to a2. But on the other hand, it might be more useful in some other square, and that's right now what MVL is considering.
I think he should play fast so that when Rex, he doesn't feel a lot of pressure. Maurice has something for us upstairs with this star-studded crew.
Guys, I'm reminded of the NBA All-Star game. The beginning of the game, the guys play around, they laugh, they joke, but when it gets to the end, they get serious. And you see the tension level has come back in the room. As a matter of fact, the Levon Aronian, after the last move by Hikaru Nakamura, burst out into spontaneous applause, shouting, "We're winning!" Levon, what are your thoughts now? These guys are huddled talking about the game. What are your thoughts about the position now?
I think we're better. I don't know if we will win or not, but I mean, I don't see any counterplay for white.
Are you guys looking for a draw, Veselin?
No, come on. We had a draw 20 moves ago, no, come on. Just, no.
Magnus, you haven't been able to sit and play for a while, out of control of this game. What are your thoughts about the position?
No, we're doing fine. I mean, there is one trick in the position, but I don't think they will see it.
As long as we see it,
it's okay.
We can defend.
Randy, how are you feeling about the situation now? Everybody's tense around you, and they're counting on you to hold this game.
Well, we'll see how it develops, as we still have Veselin and Levon to play first. So,
I believe Levon has already played, so you're about 5 moves away.
okay, so 2 moves away. No, Veselin first, and then. And I'm out of timeouts, so we'll see what happens. Yeah, it won't be clarified.
We'll jump over to the white team. Guys, how are you guys feeling right now? Are you still going for the win?
No, it's an extra point, but I think white has enough compensation. So,
Fabiano?
I disagree. We should win this. We have to win. It's a must-win situation.
When you call that timeout, did you feel comfortable with their advice when you went into it?
I didn't call the timeout. I was sure about what I would play, and they told me to play the same move.
All right, let's get back to the exciting action, guys.
Awesome. That was a really good line by Fabiano.
Well, you have to be confident when you have a tournament like he did at the Sinquefield Cup, and it seemed like he was going to go for the type of positions that his teammates wanted anyways. On the other hand, I think that Team Black in this position, Team Randy, should be pretty happy. If this was a normal game, I would say Black is nearly winning this endgame.
You think, yeah?
Well, let's look at the position. White has just played the move Rook D1, and I am kind of curious. If I just put my king on H6 and blockade your pawn, what is going to be your follow-up exactly? You could play for a draw, but we know that white doesn't want to do that. King h6 also attacks the pawn on h5 in case the rook leaves the first rank. No, right now it's not a threat because of rook h1 checkmate. But on the other hand, I have this pawn just rolling down the a-file. Who's going to stop that one?
That's right. There's really no way after rook d1, king h6. There's no way for us to really get in, is there? Because if we attack the knight on c4, it can even just be supported by the b pawn.
Right, and psychologically we know that after king h6, the idea of playing rook d8 will not be played because neither side wants a draw. They're not going to be repeating moves in this case, so white has to find some way of trying to force the issue.
Well, maybe you can play rook d8, maybe after king h8, rook d8, and then something else after king g7, but what?
No, I'm not entirely sure right now. On the other hand, I don't have to play king h6 right now. There's no reason for me to put the king there immediately. You can also play the move b5, or you could play e4 right away. Those look like more logical moves to me.
And so we've got the time situation becoming more turbulent here. And remember that we still have Yasser and Veselin to play. So there could be very low clock times once Randy and Rex step in here.
This is a very bad position to get into time pressure. Pawn races are not the type of games that you want to have with absolutely no time to calculate. And remember that we have amateur players that are going to be having to calculate their own pawn races at some point.
Now let's hear what is being discussed now. Are there draw? Though I don't think there are any draw offers in the offing, but there's some trash talk going on up there. But really, Hikaru looks most like Garry Kasparov. I mean, he's taking this real seriously, don't you think?
I think the players are taking it real seriously when they're there. You think that Levon Aronian isn't taking seriously because he's trash talking, but that's part of his strategy. He's used to it. He has the ability to trash talk and think very seriously. And we saw that when it came down to taking the decision of taking on a4, he actually thought very seriously about the position. They're very competitive. It's in their nature to have this competitive spirit in them, so they want to win, even though it's just a friendly exhibition game.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he did play that move rook c7, which was a mysterious rook move extraordinaire, right?
But with a very deep concept, and very good. And we see that Hikaru has played the move king h6. No, we have a couple of moves, actually. Yeah, a4 was played. And rook g1, check, forcing the king to h6. And now it's up to white to come up with a plan of moving this king out from h6 so that I can actually push my one and only treasure in the position, which is the pawn on h5. Without this pawn's counterplay, white's just toast.
And rook to g8 was played by Yasser Sarawan.
It seems as if he has to do something, and the gestures by Topalov are amazing. His own way of trash talking, he's just pointing to the squares, saying, "Hey Yasser, you have nothing here. Why did you put your rook on g8?" And very, very quickly push the pawn to a3, threatening to simply queen in 2 moves.
And now Yasser has played the move rook a8, getting behind the pawn.
He played the move rook h8 first to bring the king back to g7, and then played rook a8, stopping the pawn for now.
But I wonder if black can even try to plug this with a move like b6 here, the idea of playing knight to a5.
b6 makes absolutely a lot of sense. I'm sure it's black's idea. The point is, once the knight gets here, the pawn advances.
Yeah.
And if you ever push the rook to a4, b5 basically wins the tempo. b6 looks like a very logical move.
Although then, if you play b5, then at least we can play rook e8, and you can't plug the file anymore.
This is true, but a tempo is a tempo. I'd be able to get my rook back in. It does seem like the most logical move if I can force white into doing this. And for now, I don't see any white threat. King g5 isn't a threat. I can always play f6 check. Seems like an okay position for black. b6, I expect, and b6 played.
b6, okay, and now Yasser, it looks like he's played king g5.
No.
No? No, I must have the moves off.
He did play king g5, I believe, which I'm not entirely sure about.
Was another timeout called for the team?
Sorry. I can call a timeout.
Sit down first. Sit down first.
Yeah, we'll wait till Veselin makes his move, and then that way then Randy can move.
You're gonna watch this. What are you watching?
Yeah, I think the idea is he wants to call it a timeout when Veselin makes a move.
He needs it. He absolutely, positively needs
smart,
it.
But so Veselin here, I guess the idea is that after knight a5, which Yasser's concept must have been is that bishop b1 does hold, bishop b1 or bishop e6 probably better, being a bit more active and maybe even making some threats.
Right. This idea of h6 would win a rook. Here, check, king somewhere, either f8.
Is it a draw? No, it's
But
we don't know. As soon as they move. We don't know. We don't know. As soon as he
No, I don't see it.
black.
No, actually.
This is convincing.
He's actually, sadly enough for Rex, calling a timeout could be his detriment, because that will give Randy a chance to talk to him, and then they will tell them this idea, and then it'll be awful.
And I like what Topal is thinking over the board. He's making sure that the variation he's looking at, he's just pointing to the squares. Randy looking intently at what Topalov is pointing out. And I think that after knight a5, which I think will be played.
It's tricky though. That's why maybe it was a mistake for Rex to call the timeout before it was actually time, because Topalov, technically, could play knight a5 and be confident that if Rex is taking a timeout, he can tell his team that critical variation.
This is very true. Funny how that might actually come and, wow.
And he didn't do it.
He didn't do it, but I'm wondering why. Maybe I am missing something in some variation, or he simply thought rook e7 was a stronger move. Or a safer move.
All right, guys, they've called a timeout. Let's listen in.
Fabian, perpetual? Perpetual?
So,
Nothing else. Nothing else. Make perpetual.
So I bring the rook to
No.
e8?
No. You go h6 check.
He has to
He
take
takes.
the pawn.
Then you go rook h8, rook h7. You do perpetual. Rook h7 and h. Just do perpetual. Just just don't because he cannot go. Rook is hanging. h6. He takes. You go rook h8, rook h7.
I don't think it's a trap.
G8. 90, 95.
Yeah, but then we can play rook h8 anyway.
It's too complicated.
No, but
Just
they won't expect
a2, a2, but a2.
yeah, rook g6. He'll play king h5.
We made it.
Do we?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
H6,
rook h8.
Okay, I'll go.
H6, rook h8, rook h7, that's it. Perpetual. H6.
And the game begins.
Kasparov.
Well, it seems like they found some way of drawing the game or some kind of perpetual.
Instead of
because-
taking the rook. Yeah.
Right, it seems as if h6 check was played, and we have some quick moves by both players, actually. Probably Randy fully expecting this h6 sacrifice, since he was told by the grandmasters. And they're trying to make some sort of perpetual check in the position. But yeah, it seems like the game should end in a draw, actually, as there is no way to actually escape from this.
That's right.
I don't think Rex has to move.
I have to move, but...
No.
Three times repetition.
Draw.
Okay, we'll take a break for about 5 minutes. We'll let players revamp their strategy.
Realize, obviously.
No convincing. And then we'll begin with the Blitz session.
Quality game, combined with some good nerves by both the amateur players.
It was actually a very exciting game. A lot of things
Indeed.
happened, and both sides actually playing for the win all the time.
And now we're getting warmed up for the Blitz, which is going to be really wild. And I'm going to explain the format to you guys now. The way this is going to work is we are going to have the same teams that we had in the Rapid. So Team Rex will also consist of Gary Kasparov and Fabiano Caruana, Maxime and Yasser. Randy's team, world champion Magnus Carlsen, Levon Aronian, Hikaru Vesselin. And what's going to happen is we're going to start with Magnus pairing up with Randy and Gary pairing up with Rex. Now, whoever wins stays. Whoever loses is knocked out forever. So if Magnus loses, he's out. And then we drop down to Levon. And we repeat the process until one team has no players left. This is actually a format that my brother invented for the US Chess League. And it's been very popular there. It's a lot of fun. And we're going to have a winner and we're going to have a loser in this Blitz elimination.
And just out of curiosity, in case that the game doesn't end in a draw?
I think it's supposed to be both players are
Both
eliminated.
players are eliminated,
But
right?
it's possible that because we're really trying to have a lot of fun here, that they'll try to give us bonus games. But in the US Chess League, it works, both are eliminated. 1.5 for Team Randy and half a point for Team Rex.
it's very important that in this kind of positions, in this kind of tandem chess, which is very usual at some levels, one partner knows what the other partner is capable of. You don't want to put them in positions where you have to find out a lot of moves in a sequence if you don't think your partner can actually find them. And here we have a huge disparity of level, so it'll be interesting to see exactly how much the grandmasters expect from their amateur partners.
And it looks like, I'm wondering if they might take a minute or two. Probably people are going to explain the rules. So we're going to find out exactly when these Blitz games are going to take place, but it should be a lot of fun. And we're also going to get clarification for you guys ASAP on what happens in that possible draw result. As we saw in this game, it certainly can happen. Even in an exhibition match, a very well-played game.
Actually, a lot of players here have a lot of tandem experience. I've actually seen a tandem chess competition live, and one of the players in one of the teams was playing. You wouldn't guess, but it was Yasser Seirawan in a tournament in China. Very recently won that tournament. He paired with Zhu Chen, a former women's world champion, originally from China, now living in Qatar. And they destroyed the field. And one of the teams that was in the field included the superpower team of Nigel Short from England, a famous grandmaster, challenger to the world championship title against Kasparov in the early 90s, and Hu Yifan, reigning world women's champion. And they crushed the field.
And almost 2,700, Yifan, right?
Absolutely.
So pretty incredible that as Judith Polgar retired from the game, we have Hu Yifan, who may be the second woman ever to break 2,700.
Well, we hope so. She's definitely on her way.
She's only about 20, 30 points away, right?
She's about 30 points away from the last I saw, about 30, 31. She just tied for first in the Sharjah Grand Prix in the United Arab Emirates, and she won the Grand Prix series. So she's been on a strings of success, both in female competitions, such as the Grand Prix series, and on more international events, such as Biel, which was won by our MVL.
Indeed, so it's exciting to see another woman player kind of rise to the scene where she can play against the top men in the world as well. So the Blitz, I can't wait to see what's going to happen. Who do you think's got the edge, Alejo?
Before the day started, I would have said Rex has that edge on the Blitz simply because he plays more chess. But after seeing him blunder a queen against Randy, I think, well, maybe things are not so clear.
Yeah, that was uncharacteristic. I think the pressure of the competition and definitely playing really fast, despite the fact that having 5 minutes. And I think that'll be really critical also. Clearly, the grandmaster on the team is going to have to play pretty quickly.
Right, you want to give your partner as much time as possible to think about their moves, and you want to preempt what possibilities are going to happen so that your partner can easily reply. If you offer a piece trade, maybe your partner can simply recapture without any problems.
All right, and we are going to take a little bit of break. I think all the players, after that absolutely intense struggle, are taking a quick break. And we'll be right back with more from Ultimate Moves, part Blitz. Oh, and I think we actually have Tony on the air right before we go to break, who's going to explain one detail of the rules to us. Oh, no. Okay. All right. We'll be right back for more from Ultimate Moves. Hello and welcome back to Ultimate Moves. We are about to start the Blitz portion and we're going to send it up to Executive Director Tony Rich, who's going to explain how this is going to work.
Thanks, Jen. So the Blitz section of Ultimate Moves here will be very exciting. What will happen is Rex and Randy will play with one Grandmaster each and they will play an entire Blitz game to the end. If the game is decisive, the losing Grandmaster walks. He's eliminated. And Rex and Randy are trying to eliminate each other's Grandmaster bench. If they're able to do so, they win this section of the event. Now, we will have one special game at the very end of all of this in which it will just be Rex Sinquefield versus Randy Sinquefield. And all of the Grandmasters are encouraged to commentate and bring on the heat. We have a question here. Can either team member hit the clock? And the answer to that is no. You have to hit the clock with the same hand that you move the piece. I know, it's going to be real tough. It's like Twister and chess all in one. Back to you, Jen.
Thank you, Tony. And Tony, I wanted to clarify one thing with Tony. I have heard that if it's a draw, both players are eliminated.
Well,
but
I don't think we're going to see that many draws in this kind of
No,
matches.
I don't believe so. I think the only exception to that is if it's the final two players for each team. Of course, they can't both lose. So in that case, there would be a rematch.
We're seeing some team spirit here.
Come on, guys. You can do it.
We got this.
We got this. Are we?
Everybody's clear on the rules? Yep. I'm not. Good luck, everybody.
All right.
And it's going to be a quick Sicilian.
Indeed. So it looks like Rex trying to play an accelerated dragon, and Randy avoiding it with the bishop b5. Or was that Magnus's move?
I think that was Randy playing the Rosolima variation, and then Magnus playing c3, a variation he's actually very familiar with.
Okay, Gary seems like he played that bishop to d7 move.
Mm-hmm.
And I like this decision by Team Magnus and Randy.
What
Castling.
decision exactly?
The decision to play not to play d4, to play bishop b5 and c3 instead.
I think it's an easier way to handle the position if you don't know your way through theory. And definitely Randy is not exactly a theoretical machine, as two of the players in this board are.
I know, it seems like we've only got the overhead shot of the board so far, but perhaps we'll also at some point get it on your board. As we'll work on that.
That was 5 months.
Okay, so for the Blitz game, we're going to stick with this overhead shot. And so what do you think, Alejandro? It looks like White's got in this beautiful center, and Black's going to need to figure out a way to strike back.
Well, actually, Magnus Carlsen just sacrificed a pawn, which might confuse Randy a little bit, because this variation with d4 is pretty powerful, and here Randy has to find the move d5, which is usually the entire point of the variation, kicking out that knight from c6. It doesn't really have a good square to go to. He could also play the move rook e1. It's a little bit more of a passive move, but we'll see what he finds out. It's not an easy choice to make, actually. Your partner, who is a 2800 plus player, just seems like he lost a pawn. He played the move bishop e3. Gary Kasparov seems very happy with this decision. He knows it's not the most accurate move, and he's just up a pawn at the moment. But what is Randy going to? What is Rex Sinquefield going to do? There's a c5 pawn hanging at the moment.
Now, time is of course going to be a crucial factor in this.
No, absolutely. Time's just about even right now. Remember, we do have 2 seconds increment per move, so we don't expect any time trouble in the next couple of minutes.
That's right, we got like 4:07 to 4:10, something like that, right? So you can see the clock right next to their board there.
Yes.
And they're both keeping kind of pace. But a 2-second increment, I'm pretty impressed with how Randy and Rex are handling themselves. They're not playing as quickly as they did, and yet they're playing quickly enough.
And they're playing decent enough
And Maurice
moves.
actually has something for us up there. Perhaps the other grandmasters have some thoughts.
So far, guys, they're laughing because Magnus Carlsen's getting all the easy moves, the recaptures, and it's Randy who has to make all the critical moves. So a tough situation for Team Randy at the moment. Back to you.
Thank you, indeed. It looks like Black's up a solid extra pawn now, huh?
Yes, unfortunately, it was Randy's turn to decide how to proceed after the pawn sacrifice. And this is what we were talking about earlier. You can't really expect your partner to know the theory behind the pawn sacrifice. He might botch it up. And what we have in the position is that White basically lost the pawn. He doesn't really have any compensation for it. But hey, it's just one pawn.
And it's a blitz game. I think key here is both players need to make sure not to get too far behind on the clock, because that would be a disaster.
Absolutely. It's absolutely crucial that they play quickly and they have enough time for their partners to cook.
And here Kasparov had the easy move. B takes C6, all right?
Sometimes you get the easy ones. The trick is to make sure that the critical ones are on your turf. Now, at this point, the good thing about Rex is that nothing is being threatened, so he can actually play whatever move he wants and it'll be perfectly acceptable.
Indeed. So how do you think White's going to try to get any semblance of compensation here? It looks like Randy's played the move knight to e5.
Pretty aggressive,
I
pretty
like
aggressive.
that. Considering they're down a pawn, you just gotta go for it.
Yeah, I like his style. In this position, Black has the thread. He's under the attack of knight takes c6, so he has to protect himself from that. And he has a couple of ways of doing it.
I don't like taking that knight with the bishop, because then our dark squares are going to be weak and White can claim some compensation.
Absolutely, but Kasparov lashes out with move c5, taking advantage of the fact that the pawn on d4 cannot actually capture on c5 because the knight on e5 would be hanging.
Indeed, indeed. So I must have been confused about, okay, so now it's a question, rook to b1.
Simple development move.
Yeah, and you can see that there's some potential ideas here. You know, rook b1 stops rook to b8 was a really good way for Black to complete his development.
It looks like Black should be up a pawn, but White's not without play. It's a position where both sides can go wrong somehow. And well,
why is Gary shaking his head, or is that just in my head?
He's always shaking his head.
Time advantage for Gary and Rex as well. Looks like about 2.5 and 3.5.
Yeah, they got about a minute advantage, which is pretty solid considering that they only started with 5. And although the recapture was relatively easy in this position, I don't actually like taking with the bishop. I'm going to be very scared if for some reason Black's able to get both moves, f6 and e5, establishing a strong pawn center. And that's exactly what Gary's going for. But I'm wondering if he's a little bit worried about either knight c6 tricks, which I don't see any, and I don't see any season. He's asking everybody, but maybe he's worried that Rex will not continue with the plan. And indeed, he didn't play that. He played the move queen c7, maybe also trying to play e5 when the knight moves away.
I think I like this move from a practical point of view, too. It puts a little less pressure on Rex to have to constantly check for knight c6.
I think I just like
for
the
a long
idea.
time in the position. Nigel walks around, he sits back down, looks, he makes a second move. Ray looks up, Nigel looks up and says, I moved twice, didn't I?
Why did this guy take with the bishop?
Busted at that point.
And we've got 2 minutes and a little over 2 minutes for Magnus and a little under 3. You can see those clock time eagle eyes, right, Alejo?
I can just about see them. And it's still about a minute edge for the black pieces.
Which is very significant.
It's very significant.
Because the minute edge is obviously, from a math point of view, it's more significant the less time you have, right? So 5 to 4 is at least not that big of a deal, but 2 to 1 is.
C5, I played rook b1, he took back.
Yeah. Time's ticking, time's ticking.
Bravo.
Oh.
Hopefully this is a friendly exhibition.
Well, it's not a good time to have an argument when you're thinking. You're down 1 minute on the clock, it's not the time to do it. Oh, some counter-attacking potential by Randy, but I think that move, it might have blundered something. Maybe not, maybe just a pawn. I think after the move queen d6, it's difficult for White to defend all his pieces. The knight on e5 is going to be hanging, the rook on b1 is hanging, and if you retreat the knight to d3, the pawn on c3 is hanging. He could also just go ahead and take it right away. I'm not entirely sure which was the strongest move.
No, as we saw, Gary was just rubbing his hand together gleefully, but now he's taking a little bit more of a think, and he has played queen to d6 and screamed yes.
Well, I think queen c3 was more tempting, but queen d6 is the stronger version. Queen c3 kind of ran into rook c1, and White maybe got just a little bit of counterplay. Here, this is pretty clear, and I believe it's Magnus's turn after Gary. Yeah, he plays knight d3, which is the only move that doesn't lose instantly.
And Maurice has something for us upstairs.
The guys were high-fiving after the last move. Gary could have taken the pawn, but rook c1 would have led to some complications for Rex. Instead, this move, queen d6, threatening lots of pieces, forcing Magnus on the defensive, and the time has become an issue in the game. Back to you guys.
Thank you. And it looks like Rex has played the solid move, rook to b8, but Gary is leaning back. He doesn't like this move.
Well, I'm worried about bishop c5 working, but maybe actually this rook b8 move is not bad.
Yeah, what is bishop c5? Probably
rook takes b1, queen
Yeah.
takes b1, bishop takes d3 is winning for black. So you cannot really do that. You might have to reinforce the bishop with a5, but Randy isn't seeing the threat at all.
So Randy and Magnus not looking happy, and you know what? It's weird. Gary looks happier when he's winning.
Well,
Just saying. I mean, compare him to when he was on the losing side of game two defending. He looked like he was miserable.
black has a way of winning a piece in this turn, but I'm not so sure that both sides are going to see it. I'm sure that Gary can see it. Rook takes b1 seems...
Oh no, it's Gary's move, right? Rex played rook b8.
No, but it's going to be Rex's turn to find the move. Bishop takes d3.
Interesting indeed. So Rex Sinquefield on move, can he see it? No, they've almost got a full extra minute. So the key thing here is maybe not to spend too much time.
Things are looking good for Team Black in this
Indeed.
case.
As long as Rex doesn't think too long here, even if he doesn't see it, he very well may be okay.
Yeah,
Let's see how he
that's
does.
true. But if he doesn't see it, he does have some problems with the e7 pawn.
Yeah.
So it's a good time to think, actually. And if he finds bishop takes d3, they're in the clear.
They are certainly in the clear at that point. So Rex doing a good job of thinking at the critical moment.
Not the most precise, but not a bad move.
So he saw the idea. He saw that there were all these pins and potential ideas, but unfortunately the wrong move order, but still simplifying into a position.
Now we're gonna win. Come on, guys. Yes.
Now they're just trying to play really fast, and you hear Lev trash talking in the background. Now we're gonna win.
They are still up 2 pawns. He can take on c3, so that's a pretty big advantage. And there you go. Bishop takes c3 without hesitation.
Well, with some hesitation. I mean, what do you got on the clock times now, Eagle Eyes?
I have 26 seconds, 27 seconds now for white, 51 seconds for black. And Randy Sinquefield, instead of taking the pawn on a6, retreated the knight to d3. Basically, their only hope would have actually been to take that pawn, but I think Kasparov is pretty happy being up 2 of them.
But Kasparov spent almost like 8 seconds in that move. That was a huge error. He should have made it an instant move.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
What a terrible player.
I mean, no, he's having fun now. He thinks the game is in the bag, but you can never be sure in tandem chess.
No, in
And-
any chess, actually.
Because, of course, it's nerve-wracking for Randy and Rex, and, you know, just a little bit more of a think here by Rex, and they could be dipping below on time, and that's going to spell actually disaster.
Hey, we were talking about this earlier. As long as there's a knight on the board, tricks exist.
Actually, the times are almost equal now, by the way.
Yeah, they...
And that's what I meant. And Gary, I think, is realizing that he better play moves quickly.
They both have about
Oh,
23
yeah.
seconds on the board.
This is bad,
Black
I think.
is thinking a lot.
That's
19,
really bad.
18. Somebody wake these guys up.
Well, there is that 2-second increment, so that's huge. We shouldn't forget that. So it's not sudden death.
It's a big deal, but at the same time, 2 seconds, it's not that long. Ooh, a big blunder by Randy Sinquefield.
So it's everything, to defend everything. Correct.
Former world champion Gary Kasparov, rook e4 check, king d3, and Rex hopefully takes the knight on e5. Black is up a decisive amount of material, but we're getting a legal move.
We did, and I think that saved us from the time scramble of the keys.
It's like... This is nerve-wracking.
Like he just won a world championship.
Not his mistakes.
That guy likes to win.
He does like to win, and it seems like Randy Sinquefield and Magnus Carlsen have been defeated on game number 1.
And we have Maurice up in the tournament hall with more.
Guys, actually that game ended in an illegal move. Randy Sinquefield tried to move the black pawn that was on a5 to a6. An interesting idea. Unfortunately, illegal moves lose in chess, so that's why black won the game officially, although up a piece. So now Magnus Carlsen has to get up and have the bench grandmaster come in, and we start game 2.
And so Gary gets to stay. Magnus has to leave. Poor Magnus. I'm sure he's not used to that. Got kicked out of the team.
Well, it's pretty hard when your partner makes illegal moves. It doesn't matter how good you are at chess. Randy's going to have to step it up, and now he has trash talker extraordinaire Levon Aronian as his partner.
Not worried about it. And, pretty well played game there, I think, considering it's a blitz game.
I think for quite a while we had a very decent game. A couple of missed opportunities, but nothing too special. And when time was running low, I think Randy just felt the pressure and the lack of experience on blitz games.
But I think the issue was that if it wasn't for that blunder with rookie forecheck, I honestly think that White, just by playing quickly, might have just won that game. Could have run them out of time.
It's very possible
Rex didn't seem as aware of the clock, I think, as Randy did.
And neither did Kasparov, actually. He was busy celebrating. But I think at some point he realized, wait, I only have 20 seconds, and I'm playing with Rex.
Results for round one. And to recap, we've got Randy Sinquefield and Gary Kasparov. They have won the first game, so Gary stays on the team. And now Magnus Carlsen out of there, and Levon Aronian stepping in to save Team Randy. Now this format's very interesting. Theoretically, if Gary and Rex keep winning, we might not even get to see the Sinquefield Cup champ play, but I have a feeling we're going to get to see him in there at some point.
But who do you think is going to eliminate him?
I feel like Levon has a decent chance. He's probably got the best chance, Levon, don't you think?
Well, Levon is not only a person that understands chess beautifully, he understands the situation many different styles of chess. He's known as a beautiful bughouse partner, one of the best bughouse players in the world, and that's a game that you have to play with a partner. So maybe he understands better the subtleties of tandem chess.
I think so. I think his knowledge of psychology is very good, and he is going to consider not for Rex and Gary track here. So what's this opening, Alejandro?
It's some kind of weird opening. I'm not entirely sure what happened. Randy's sticking with his guns of playing this kind of modern slash perch setup with g6 and d6. At some point, a very strange bishop b5 check was played, and somehow the light-scored bishops came off, but nothing too special. Both sides are still trying to develop. It seems like black has an okay position.
So Magnus is still there.
Just watching, he has no more say in the result of the match. And Gary Kasparov has played in 3-1. His team cheering him on.
They're so excited over there.
All right, so I think they have a very clear plan here, and Rex is.
Check. I have to.
We got Maurice with some news from upstairs.
Yes, in that critical moment when Rex played Queen E1, showing that he knew the nuances of the Grand Prix attack, at least so far. The important moment was Gary played the move D3. That move, instead of playing the move D4, Gary said, I got to make sure everything's protected. So he's playing with his opponent this time, and it looks like it's working out. Guys?
Thank you, Maurice. Yeah, so Gary cheering when Rex played Queen E1, demonstrating that he wants to try maybe relocating that queen to H4 and develop a kingside attack.
We can get some insight on Randy Sinquefield's coach. Does he know this kind of positions?
Indeed, he does.
Then this is a huge advantage for White, because this is an attack that just develops itself if you know where to put the pieces. Queen E1, Queen H4, F4, F5, Bishop goes to H6, Knight goes to G5. Black doesn't know what they're doing. They can get checkmated very easily.
I think it would make Gary Kasparov very excited to get through Magnus and Levon.
True.
Did you see that?
Ah.
Well, I'm going to be pretty happy if I was Kasparov with this move. Knight G4 was played. It just seems like the knight is going to be on the way of White's steamrolling attack. If anything, White is going to gain tempos from that knight on G4. So I think Kasparov is
Wait, is it Gary's move? It should be Rex's move, right?
I think it's Rex's move, yes.
King H1, yeah, Queen B6. Actually,
doesn't have a move.
Confused. But we'll see soon whose move it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Because
it's...
it was King H1 was played by Gary, right?
Yes.
This is fine. Now they don't have the they don't have the square for the rook.
Okay, but we have
Perfect.
Perfect. Immediately, knight is rook, knight A4. But
Continuation, Queen H4. The attack rages on.
Rex for the attack. Yeah. Defense.
Very solid.
Defense.
Gotta play
My move?
sound.
Yes. Solid? Should I play solid?
Progress here for white. And look at the world champion, G4. This doesn't look good for black at all.
Indeed, it doesn't. But to be fair, especially now that the H1 is now the switch to H6 and knight D5 stuff comes with even more punch because you don't even have any way to defend. It looks very dangerous indeed.
And from a practical decision, I hate the move H takes G4 from Aronian. Not so much because it's a bad move, which it isn't, but because it's Randy's move again to figure out how to defend the position. I think Aronian should have made some kind of defensive move on the king side, at least setting it up so that his
to say the least.
Don't worry.
At least you'll lose comfortably.
My move? Yeah.
No, but
Rex, I'll make it easy for you.
it's all good, guys.
Just prepare for the endgame.
With such a popular opening, I think it's a detestable thing to do because every game is the same. But at the moment, black has some serious problems.
It was a prophylactic move. We started the knight on F3 a little bit more.
That's queen after it's quite queen. It's not so easy.
Anything is coming.
Good.
Yes. I don't see anything.
Yes.
Maybe just
Gary, you're smiling a lot more this game, I've noticed.
This is good. This is good stuff. All we need to
Obviously,
do just stay
legendary
solid for a
pattern.
couple of moves. And
They're in trouble. They're in trouble.
Pawn is hanging, you see, Rex? This is this. Almost rolled two. No, I said I'm protecting the pawn. I just did nothing. I just I protect the pawn.
Protecting the pawn.
What's wrong with?
okay, and we do this. What's the big deal?
They're still in serious problems. Bishop h6 just came in, trying to trade off the dark squared bishops, which would be absolutely lethal.
And F6 seems to be hanging too.
No, there's a knight on d7.
Ah,
So the f6 is
Okay, we're in good shape.
F6 just happened.
Yeah, it's probably the best move and actually played pretty quickly by black.
Thank you.
The king is escaping, somehow still surviving.
This was it.
This was it. It's already it. Yes, now.
This was it.
You know it's it. It's it.
A little bit of an edge for Gary and Rex.
Just about 15 seconds edge, it's not very much, but it's enough when you have the pressure on the board. And I believe that it's Rex's turn.
I believe so.
Yeah, he has to find out how to continue the attack. He has a couple of good choices. Of course, the most obvious is to simply take that pawn on g6, but yeah, g5 is also pretty natural.
We heard no baby from Yasser.
Oh my.
Interesting.
Rook h8 play.
Rex. Yes, sir.
Ah,
It's a blunder, because you take on f6 with check.
yikes.
But black is now going to be playing down a piece. But on the bright side, if there's any, is that the attack has diminished just a little bit.
And now black actually has a small edge on the clock.
Well, true, but with 2 minutes still going on.
Yeah, baby. They have one apiece, has Kasparov's team. They're very happy about the position. The important thing is the clock now, 158 and counting down for white, 156 for black, that is, 156 for white. So a slight time edge. They have to figure out if they're going to win up a piece with less than 2 minutes on the clock. So it's critical right now that they move quickly. Guys, back to you.
That's an absolutely sincere smile from Gary Kasparov. He still has teeth.
Nothing makes him happier than winning at chess.
Do you know what they say about a real smile? That the corners of your eyes, you can see it in the corners of your eyes.
Is that what you're seeing?
Indeed.
Rex, I will give the pleasure of delivering the final blow to you.
Oh my god, that is very painful to me. Knight d5, crushing the position.
Thanks for playing
We were expecting, yeah.
Well
The
done.
move was actually bishop d5.
Nice game by white. And that shows, I think, we have Maurice.
The important strategy I'm noticing right now, guys, is that Kasparov is giving the best moves to Rex. He could have easily played knight d5, but he's playing moves each time that make it easy for Rex. He's playing with his opponent. He's completely in concert with him, and that's helping them tremendously. So now they have a dominant 2-0 score, looking to extend that lead as Hikaru Nakamura, one of the best Blitz players in the world, takes the chair. Back to you.
Hikaru Nakamura, so they've gone through the world's #1 and 2 starting this tournament. And now Hikaru Nakamura, legendary Blitz and Rapid player, is teaming up with him.
60 seconds to go.
Tony, I went to the football
This
game
one?
yesterday and there were a lot of penalties. I think they should be penalized.
Magnus Carlsen. So the score so far, 2 points for Team Rex. Magnus Carlsen and Levon Aronian have both been eliminated. They're out of here. And Magnus trying to call some technicalities. He's starting to get worried for his team.
I would be very worried. I would especially be worried because whenever Rex is white, he's going to play the same setup, and Randy's going to have to figure out what to do against it.
Perhaps his partner will recommend no Sicilian.
Maybe so, maybe so.
And for now, though, they are black. And Hikaru plays the Grand Prix himself. Sometimes. I mean, when he was a kid, he used to play it.
Well, and Rex plays the Accelerated Dragon. Is that what he plays?
Yeah, so they could get it against him, but that would require Randy to know it, and I don't think that's the case.
Well, we'll see what happens. It'll definitely be more interesting with Team Randy being white.
Indeed, white.
We're the appeals committee.
And the game has begun.
See, Randy knows Hikaru's opening repertoire too.
Kind of a weird opening already. Randy deciding not to take that central pawn.
I like it.
Anything that sacrifices, you like.
That was Levon's voice saying, I like it.
That's probably true.
Right, so what do we have here, Alejandro? What do you think about this opening? So they're taking the extra pawn.
I'm going to tell you this. We would not be seeing this opening. White is simply down a pawn for no apparent reason. White decided not to retake on d4, and that's going to cost him some material.
Oh.
So Team Black already with a sizable advantage.
But no big deal in a Blitz game. Again, time is of the essence. You got to stay ahead of the clock.
Yeah, time is still not so relevant because both sides have well over 4 minutes. But at the same time, White's playing quickly, White's playing confidently, as if they knew what they're doing.
You know, last game was the exception that proves the rule. It really was a checkmating attack in a Blitz game with an amateur and GM partner. Normally, it's going to go the long haul, and those extra seconds are going to be of critical importance.
You think that's the case? I don't know. I think the way that Rex is playing is very strong, and I think they want blood. They're going to go for aggression every single game.
But it's harder with Black to get set, especially this opening. I mean, you're not going to see a mating attack. You're going to need to see a well-played game, perhaps, but time is going to be important.
This is very true. I think that Hikaru Nakamura has just played the move c3, attacking the pawn on d4, and after d takes c3, which is the most logical move in the position, it's possible that Hikaru had the idea of playing knight c4 instead of recapturing, but I don't think Randy would do that. Kasparov thinking about his move. I don't think, yeah, bishop takes a3 also possible. Randy with the quick recapture. And after taking on c3, Hikaru blitzes out queen b3, which threatens to capture that pawn on c3. And maybe if he gets the pair of bishops rolling, he can get some compensation for the missing pawn that they basically started out with.
And a pretty big time advantage here for White. And it seems like the game a bit more serious this time, because I mentioned earlier, both Hikaru and Gary seem to be among the most serious in this exhibition match.
Well, I think that Team Randy doesn't want to lose a single more game, whereas Kasparov just wants to win every single one of them.
He wants to see it from the winning side.
Wait, this
I was always on your team, guys.
both players castling. We didn't see enough of that in the Sinquefield Cup. A lot of anti-castling.
Guys, we have a situation where Randy Sinquefield has given away 2 pawns. Actually, it's more like Hikaru Nakamura going along with giving away the first pawn and then Randy doing it next. Yasser Sirwan calls it the Sinquefield Gambit. Well, down 2 pawns. Gary Kasparov, I mentioned before, playing with his teammate that is much better, but it's a bit more complex here because the position is erratic. I believe it was Levon or maybe it was Topalov who said that we're sure Gary has never seen this position before. Maybe this will confuse him. Back to you guys.
Indeed, and I think Hikaru understands here that it's important to keep pieces on the board and play quickly.
I think
And
playing quickly is going to be key. But White's taking his sweet time on this move. I don't think that's the best strategy. They should move something. Well, that's something. After e3, it seems like White's bishop on g5 is in a lot of problems if I simply follow up with h6. Well, Rex decided not to do that.
This is a very strong.
Aronian happy with the position.
Winning.
What a turncoat this guy is.
Feigning anger.
He's pretty happy with threats with pawns for the moment.
Feigning anger means faking anger. He's joking, he's having fun.
I mean, that's the rule. When you're up material, you must trade everything.
Exactly.
You didn't good.
That's what Levon said.
Now it's getting, we're getting there.
A comeback. Captain a comeback is.
No, it's not Catalan, it's a smash. All the pieces are in the center, all the squares are open. Oh.
This is no masterpiece.
Danger. Gary Kasparov quickly making the move rook f8 because there was an f7 threat.
And he had to take back Rex Sinquefield's move, which was always uncomfortable. You make a move and then the ex-world champion has to take it back almost immediately.
Indeed, and I think still a slight time disadvantage, so perhaps even though...
No, I mean, you're supposed to finish the belt.
They like this move.
Welcome back, welcome back.
I think Gary tried to make too much of a proud.
The big problem that is happening on the board now is that the position is so complicated that neither one of the amateurs knows what's going on. So the strong players are seeing mistakes come on the other turn, and they have to deal with the fact that it's just erratic. Anything could happen in this game. Nothing's predictable right now. It's just wild and chaotic. Guys?
I think that they made Gary take back the move. And of course, Rex, I think, as a sportsman, didn't want to copy his move.
Yeah, that's
But
actually
it's kind
really
of a
nice.
shame because he might have, I mean, knight d4 is such a natural move that he probably would have played it anyway, or likely would have.
On the other hand, the move that he played b6 was actually pretty good. He can always play knight d4 on the next try. So at the moment, it seems like black is just up a lot of material. e4 by Randy Sinquefield was just not a very good move at all, unfortunately. Just blocking out all of his pieces, basically.
So this time, Gary makes a move when it is his move. And of course, so renewing the possibility of playing knight d4.
Well, I think knight d4 right away looks really, really strong because actually you cannot capture on c3.
Indeed. And
And
Rex
Rex sees it, yes.
And now an instant move, I think that was Nakamura's move, and he instantly played queen b4. Of course, he didn't take on c3, allowing knight d2.
Yeah, well, this is where the critical points come. Had it been Randy's turn, maybe we would have seen queen takes c3.
And meanwhile, now it's Gary's turn. And so he has time to think of a good move, but they're down on the clock.
And they still have 1 minute and 30-some seconds left.
They're down almost a minute, but they're winning on...
They're very winning on the position.
So Gary making a little bit of a finesse here and playing...
Bishop a6 is very accurate.
Bishop a6 before taking on c1.
No, exchanging 2 pawns.
It's important that I leave.
World Cup game, they would have resigned by now.
For sure, but remember, Hikaru's team has a big edge in the clock.
About 30 seconds?
I thought it was almost a minute, but I think they've regained some time in the last couple of moves because Rex instantly, the last 3 moves have been pretty instantaneous. Indeed, so a rook edge here, but
think it's the exchange. But still, with the passed pawn on c3, it should be enough.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it looks like black's going to pick up some more material here eventually.
Right.
Okay, so bishop h3, a little bit of a tricky move here.
Very clean, just moving the rook out of the way.
So black's seeming to speed up a little bit, which is a clever idea here, because if they thought for too long, it could have started to get really dicey. They are still down about 40 seconds, it seems.
The move c2 would absolutely crush white.
Indeed.
Almost unstoppable. Rook d1. They would have to find the move bishop g4. But even then, it's almost completely over.
56 and counting for Rex.
Aha, so rook to d2 instead of the c2 move, and Gary is shaking his fist.
It's also a great move. I think it's fantastic. Rook
So
d2.
was the shake fist a
I
good
think
thing or a
it's
bad
a good
thing?
fist bump.
Okay.
I think it was a fist
okay.
bump,
I
yeah.
wasn't sure if he was upset that c2 wasn't on the board.
No, I think he was quite happy with this. There's really no...
And Maurice will offer some insight into what's going on here. Time scramble mode.
The big problem now, guys, is the clock situation. Black is winning by... Black is down, actually, by a lot. It's 124 and ticking for white. 55 seconds now. Only 55 seconds left for black. So they're going to have to speed up, even though they're up in exchange, and it looks like an extra pawn. Yes, extra pawn. They're up in exchange and a pawn, but they're down critically on time. No, it looks like no extra pawn. So just an exchange, and they're down on time. They're going to have to make this work, or else they won't win the game. They'll lose on time. So they'll speed up now to the final dash.
And Gary's thinking.
No.
Kaspar's thinking.
He's not thinking. He's enjoying the position.
But he needs to worry about that clock, doesn't he?
Rook d1, the most accurate move.
And maybe that was a good time to think, actually, because that's a tough move to find. And Randy's played bishop takes e2, but now they're up.
Now there's no stopping that pawn.
Indeed.
Rook g1 check, and it's a free queen that's coming into the board.
And I think they actually might resign in this position. Oh, maybe not. You think they're going to play to checkmate?
Well, I'm not so sure about this decision of leaving the rook on g1 alive. Yay,
Hold on. I am going to give Rex the benefit of the doubt that he doesn't know the promotion rules or the FIDE laws.
Okay.
Rex did not promote his queen instantly before hitting in his clock. According to the FIDE rules, you have to put a queen on the board before you hit your clock. He reversed that, inverted that order, and now they're arguing. Nakamura said he actually lost the game like that by hitting the clock first, and then Fabiano Caruana said, let's split the difference and call it a rook, in which case you'd have 3 rooks on the board. So they were arguing, and now they're still arguing over this point, whether or not this should be allowed. Guys, a mirthful moment at the game. Back to you.
Mirthful? Thank you, guys. So I think that we're going to get some information soon on what's going on here.
Chaos on the board.
But I don't think Gary will be happy to be eliminated in this fashion.
Actually, I had this with Karpov in 93 Linares. But I said queen public, and the referee was bringing the queen, and I was so excited. And Karpov was thinking, and then I put the bishop. No, Givan. No, he said the bishop, because since it was not declared, I choose the bishop. I said, what are you doing? And then he demanded 5 extra minutes. They gave him 5 extra minutes.
It was from Leonardo.
And you put a bishop there, which proves the position was still probably lost.
Guys, right now the referee, Tony Rich, is looking into the FIDE rules to see whether or not this is actually an official loss. Queening a pawn without actually placing the queen there and hitting the clock. They're checking now to see whether or not Rex actually loses the game. These guys are serious. They want the victory. Does white, even though they were getting killed, they would have been down a queen and 2 rooks for a bishop and a knight. So the referee, the arbiter, Tony Rich, is checking on the rules right now just to make sure that the Blitz rules of the International Chess Federation really state that Black loses because of this infraction. Back to you.
Alejo, what do you think of this?
Well, it would be pretty impressive if, with this kind of field, we actually have 2 of 3 games finishing with an illegal move.
Oh, wow. So clearly, is this something when you're playing Blitz for fun, a lot of times you put the pawn down to the 8th rank?
For fun, yes, but in tournaments you actually have to be very careful because
Indeed.
unlike the real rules of chess, in which you get a full 2 moves to make illegally before you lose, in Blitz, the first illegal move that you make is actually the end of you, no matter what the position is on the board. And that's what we're seeing right now. If they're adhering strictly to the rules, I do believe that's an illegal move.
Right, okay, and so the critical decision here is, in an exhibition, do you follow the strict FIDE rules or not? It's also tandem chess, so obviously there are no FIDE tandem chess rules.
I guess that's true. I'm not entirely sure what they're looking at. they're looking at some...
I mean, FIDE tandem chess does present some extra things, because you could also say that anytime somebody makes a move when it's not their turn, that's an illegal move, right?
I guess you can look at it that way.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Somebody has to come up with rules of this event before it starts.
What is it called?
It's a new one. I helped him make it up.
I don't know.
I think Black should play d5.
Yeah, of course. It's just a game.
I played it, actually I played it with Timon, this gambit. So this is it in Blitz in 87. It was d4, e6, g3, c5. But knight f3, cd4, bishop g2. And Timon was confused. He played e5. I mean castle, he played b6, I played c3.
Yeah.
He took on c3, knight f6, I played bishop g5, the knight d2, take on 25 moves. I played normal in Blitz, in Swift. And I played e5.
Observe move.
So it's...
It's like e5 is good, but then after c3, just white to take.
No, in this game, yeah.
But e5 castle, and now knight c6, c3, d5. CD4, e4, knight d5.
Maybe not d5, d6, maybe d6.
Knight c3, knight d7.
My God, they're looking at the rule books for 20 minutes here. What's going on?
Hey, if we lose, they should kick me out.
That would be more exciting.
Babby, we may have to warm you up.
No, but it's illegal. Right, it's illegal under classical rules or under the Blitz rules also. Yeah. Okay, so it is an illegal move. It's an illegal move. I'm sorry, Gary. That
You were great.
That was part of the plan, part of my strategy.
I knew you had it in your
All right, thank you.
I knew it,
There. Round 3, legal move, and Team Randy has gained a point, and Hikaru stays.
Well, I gotta say this, in this match, both Magnus Carlsen and former world champion Gary Kasparov have been eliminated by the illegal move. Not something I can say every day.
And Tony is with Maurice to talk about this third round controversy here at Ultimate Moves Blitz.
We are with the arbiter, Tony Rich, who had to go look up the rules just to make sure that this was indeed a loss. Tony, please explain to us what happened.
Under the current FIDE laws of chess, when you have one arbiter watching the game, even in a Blitz game, it follows the standard rules, which means that in order to completely promote a pawn, you have to replace the pawn on the 8th rank with the piece you intend to replace, and if you don't, then unfortunately it's considered an illegal move. Illegal moves lose, so I had to forfeit former world champion Gary Kasparov today.
Actually, it was Randy Sinquefield who pushed the pawn. He doesn't catch a break for the fact that it's an exhibition match, plus the fact that he's the sponsor of the tournament.
I sure hope I get a paycheck next week.
All right, guys, a loss. Gary Kasparov, who was doing really well, had to get up, and Hikaru Nakamura saves the day, so to speak. And we have a new grandmaster coming in. And Yasser Sirawan, what happened?
Maurice is a shocking turn of events. We're totally winning. Rex threw down the pawn, but he didn't replace it with a queen. Gary was on a tear. We had this sewn up. Now we have to come in with Fabi. But hey, tournament winner, pretty good.
Fabi's not a bad player. We've seen him drop a few wins so far in this event. Let's see if he can keep it up with Rex. Guys.
Indeed, but it seems like that would be a little rattling. I think Rex was having a blast with Gary Kasparov. He was playing pretty well. And after that, I wonder if that's going to kind of get to his head a little bit.
Maybe they had their own over-the-board chemistry. Maybe he'll get a little rattled about losing in such a way, and we'll see if it affects the rest of the results.
That's right. So Gary Kasparov eliminated. Magnus and Lavon also eliminated. And now we've dropped down to Fabiano. And that's not really dropping down. The Sinquefield Cup champion. And yeah, so I think Fabi and Rex, we'll see how they match up. Meanwhile, Hikaru and Randy sticking together.
Well, maybe this is the new strategy. Try to get Rex in time trouble and make him promote a pawn.
Exactly. And, you know, perhaps because of tandem chess, it was hard for him to reach over and grab a queen.
Well, remember that always when you're promoting a pawn, you can actually stop the clock. You don't have to push it. And then you can go get your queen. But in this case, I think that maybe he's not so experienced in this kind of situations.
Sure, FIDE Blitz tournaments.
And we have the brand new game in which Black has already played quite strangely. We kind of have some Rui Lopez, in which Black decided to forget of his light squared bishop, something that we see never. And it seems like White should already have a sizable advantage, but at the same time, we'll see if they can follow it up correctly.
So we've got Grandmaster Maurice Ashley with half of that really rocketing team, Gary Kasparov.
I'm with the legend, Gary Kasparov, after a dominant start. Gary, even though you lost, you seem to still be in great spirits.
Yeah, okay, it was lost in technicality, so we were completely winning. Rex was so excited, and he just pushed the pawn and then pushed the clock without promoting it. So we were winning. I'm very happy with the 3 games we played. So it was tough, and okay. I think it was important to create some sense of competition in the last game. Otherwise, you know, it would be one-sided.
Giving the other side a break is Kasparov, taking himself out. Gary, was Rex the favorite on your team? I noticed you played a strategy where you let him do the more direct move, let's call it.
Look, okay, this is a team spirit, you know. It was a team effort. So at the end of the day, we had to win. And we played 3 games extremely well. So just, you know, I made moves, he made moves, and in total, you know, our moves were of much higher quality. Average.
Gary Kasparov in great spirits. Back to you guys.
Yeah, Gary does seem pretty happy. He seemed like he wanted to stay there. I'm surprised he's not a little bit more. He feels like he won.
He feels like he won over the board, and that's what matters. But at the same time, I'm sure that I think Team Randy's pretty happy with their victory.
Yeah, because if they win this match, it'll be right back up to even. So let's see what the situation is. I like that despite this controversy over last round, both Fabiano and Rex are playing very rapidly, and it seems like they've got an initiative.
They got a nice initiative. They got an extra minute on the board. As I said, this is not something we would see in the Sinquefield Cup, but if we did, White would definitely be already close to winning. The initiative is very strong, the pawn structure is beautiful, and more importantly, and I think this is important for tandem chess, the moves come naturally. Look how easy Rex is able to develop all of his pieces. He knows where they're going, he knows what exactly to do, whereas Randy seems a little bit more stuck on where exactly to do. Look at those knights on the side. It's not so easy to know what to do with them if you're not familiar with this kind of defensive setups.
And that causes him to spend more time.
Don't for any of those pieces.
Oh, he's reaching towards the knight.
Don't go for any of those. I think he was looking for the f7 pawn to play f6, but that's actually pinned the bishop on b3, pinning it to the king on g8. So I think he sensed there was some commotion in the room and is going to change his mind.
Yeah, we don't want another illegal move to determine the tournament, do we?
This one, right? No, this is my finest moment.
It opens up the rook on e1 to attack that knight on e7. So here White has the chance of going up an extra full piece. But will Rex Sinquefield see it?
Well, I think he's actually in this position which piece to take with.
Which piece to take with?
We've saved more difficult situations.
Like we saved more difficult positions because last position they were a queen and 2 rooks.
It's not over yet, guys. There must be some trick in the back here.
Somebody is saying the evaluation was only -100 in that game, so this is certainly not that yet. And, but the nice thing here is that so far, White also has a sizable time initiative, which wasn't true last game. And that's the problem. When you get down on time, anything can happen.
Hey, as long as they keep making legal moves, they should get this one. But we'll see if time pressure ever gets to them. For the moment, it's actually Black that only has 2 minutes left against almost double that, 3 minutes and 50 seconds for White.
That's right. And so if Team Randy loses this game, the pressure is all going to be on because it's sudden death for them.
They're down to their last player, Vesely to follow.
Whereas Fabi and Rex would stay.
And I think they will. It seems like the extra rook is good, and I think they're actually playing with the plan, and they have extra time. So, barring a miracle, as in the last game, it seems like White should win this one pretty handily. Rex playing h4.
Rex, I like the way he's playing this game. I think in this game in particular, it might be the one in which he's playing the most aggressive moves, not just following up on his opponent's plans.
Well, besides the brilliant game that he played against Aronian when he was paired up with Kasparov, which he also played quite well. And then from that he went on to an illegal move, but overall quite well. And I think that we are...
According to the rules, he has to move the king, no?
He has to move the king.
What?
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
the
what
rules
shadow.
say, I think that you have to
It's
move
only
the
on
king.
promotion you.
That's what you have to do before playing this.
No, we said before we started, you just take back the move.
So since there's
no
one
penalty.
arbiter watching one game, this actually follows the classical laws. So in that case, F5 would be the illegal move here, right?
Right.
And you lose if you play an illegal, well,
You play the illegal move. I mean,
No, I think we should let them play on. I like my
all right, there's no objection from the other team. So now
Yeah,
you'll have to
move the
play
king.
king h8 instead.
Yes. But maybe this is what moves
That's what.
I should have done this like 4 moves ago.
A twist just occurred. According to the rules, after F5, there should have been an illegal move and the game ends, but there was some controversy. They said that before the game, they had agreed that this would not be the rule. The king would be forced to move. Now, the arbiter called it. Instead, Fabiano said, no, I like my position. Let's keep playing. So with no disagreement, they decided to continue the game. Guys?
All right, so some fine sportsmanship there by the Sinquefield Cup champion.
I don't know, I usually like my position when I'm up a rook.
He's confident he can take this down without having to claim it via a rule, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that there are several moves that will make Black resign pretty quickly. I can think of rook g3 being pretty powerful.
Indeed.
But I'm sure it's not the only move.
So rook g3, threatening mate. Now whose move is it? It's
Rex's
Rex's
move.
move. So he just played knight to f3.
Yeah, Fabiano would have instantly played rook g3 because it's completely crushing, but okay, he's up a rook. He can do pretty much whatever he wants.
Right, and Team Randy with a little less than a little over a minute on the clock, so still retaining that comfortable time edge. So yeah, this one should be in the bag, bearing some random disaster.
Well, considering illegal move is not in the books right now, I think that they're pretty safe. Queen g5 played, a trade of queens is horrible, but everything else is as well. What do you think Vesely Topalov is going to be trying to do in the last game of the event? I don't expect Hikaru Nakamura to survive this for too much longer.
No.
Now I feel very confident.
Queens off the board, and the rest seems pretty easy.
Very solid.
Very solid. Too solid.
Centralizing the rook.
Exactly.
Well done.
Yes.
We're going to have Sinquefield Cup Fabiano around a little bit longer.
I have a feeling it's going to transfer to a rook endgame. 3 against 1. 2 against 1 rook endgame.
Okay. Not entirely sure what he's planning to do against knight takes c3, but maybe a brilliant idea of rook c1 trapping the knight.
Now we're starting to hear Levon trash talking again.
No, or take the a3 pawn and queen. This is also a good idea.
Good idea.
That's looking ahead.
And then
36 seconds on the clock for Black and over 2 minutes.
For White, position just keeps looking more and more desperate. That's a pawn blunder on c6. So Hikaru not very happy. He plays the move bishop a6, as good as any at this point.
And something funny just happened.
Randy knows the plan. Randy knows the plan.
I just let him in. Another illegal move.
Oh, there is a
Yeah, so
checkmate on the board.
perhaps hoping that Rex doesn't find rook e8.
Well, he didn't. He didn't find the move rook e8, checkmate on 2 moves, unless I was missing something.
Indeed, but instead now threatening another mating idea.
Well, neither of these sides likes their king too much.
And Fabiano's doing it now.
Well,
You see a checkmate on the board.
checkmate on the board, and Team Rex Sinquefield goes up 3-1.
Let you down. Let you down, team.
Only
Oh, I know.
Now that's on top of it.
Okay. No.
one more.
We're with Rex Sinquefield after winning 3 so far. One more win, and you win it all for the Blitz. Rex, your son in the last match, the rapid match, said that you had a senior moment. What do you feel about how you're playing against him now?
Well, wait a minute. I think you had a senior moment when you said we won 3. I won 4 games, 3 for us, 1 for them.
And what do you have to say about Randy's remark?
You know, it's the ignorance of youth.
Back to you guys.
And he's grounded.
Back to you guys.
Rex joking that Randy is grounded, of course. Randy, also a successful entrepreneur. He owns Spectrum Studios, founded a company, and usually he's down here with us producing the show.
Oh, and a great quality show it is. At this point, it seems like he's on his last lifeline. Veselin Topalov will have to find some kind of magic to be able to beat the rest of his opponents.
Is everybody ready?
Yes. So we all know the order of the players too, right?
Yeah, Randy,
Yes.
me.
Rex, Veselin,
Right.
and Fabiano.
Maxim Bashir Legrab in the background. It doesn't look like he's necessarily going to get in this, right?
And the way that Randy's playing, it doesn't look likely. He needs to step up his game and make sure he doesn't blunder any piece to the strong duo, apparently, of Rex Sinquefield and Fabiano Caruana.
That's right. So if Veselin wins this game, then Maxime Bashir will step up, and he will be the next partner for Rex Sinquefield.
So far, we have an even game, a normal opening, nothing much going on. So far, everything looking okay for both teams.
Rapid game.
I mean, Rex definitely spending a lot more time on chess than Randy, and I think that's showing more in the Blitz games. In the rapid games, Randy was just showing a really fine understanding of psychology and just practical idea of when to use those timeouts.
Yeah,
he
he played very well, and it was actually Rex that blundered in that first rapid game. And we have the contrary happening here in the Blitz games. The time pressure situation is just not something that he's used to, and it's really getting to him in certain positions.
Indeed, and I think that. Oh, and it looks like Gary Kasparov is shaking everyone's hand to say goodbye.
So I will miss a triumph, but I'll just, you call me. It's an SMS, you know, that I'll let you
It'll
know.
be on the radio.
Yes, yes.
Ready?
Yep.
Now, an author, a speaker, a human rights activist, has a very busy schedule, so we were so glad that he could clear up his dance card to come to the 70th birthday of Rex yesterday and also participate in Ultimate Moves. And he's with Maurice right now.
Thanks, Jen. With the legendary Gary Kasparov, former world champion, one of the greatest players in history. Gary, why do you have to run out right now?
It's a plane to catch, fly to San Francisco. I have a speech tomorrow there. So it's a busy life, but I'm living St. Louis Chess Club. It was great satisfaction. So I made quite a good contribution to the overall victory of our team. I believe that we'll see the final accord, and I'm sure it's not so much the result, but I think it's a huge celebration for the game of chess, and that's why I'm very, very proud of part of that.
Let me ask you one final word on St. Louis itself, the miracle that's going on here in chess in the United States.
I wouldn't say it's miracle on just the United States. I think it's a fundamental change of the attitude of the game globally, because it's for a long time. I almost forgot how it looked when great chess players, leading chess players, not only just play chess at the tournament hall, but also enjoy talking about chess, playing fun chess. So it's a revival of the spirit of classical chess, and I think that's the St. Louis Chess Club and Rex as the founder and the greatest contributor to the game of chess. They must have full credit for returning chess to the old glory.
Gary, we give you full credit for all the work that you do for us. Thanks so much, and have a great trip.
Yes, thank you.
World champion Gary Kasparov, one of the greatest of all time, off on a busy schedule, but will be remembered for the contribution he made here today. Guys?
Indeed. Absolutely just a completely memorable experience for all of us, not just Rex Sinquefield, who he flew in for. Just to see Gary Kasparov show up unexpectedly. Mouths were dropping open there. They couldn't believe it.
It was an amazing experience at dinner. I don't think anybody expected it, really. It was quite a surprise.
Yeah, and Randy, of course, one of the masterminds behind that surprise. You know, what do you get for a man like Rex Sinquefield? Having Gary Kasparov show up to your party.
Yeah, it was a pretty good gift. And he's doing well by himself here, Randy. I think White actually has the better position in this point. It's still equal material from what I can tell. And it seems like White just has a little bit of pressure.
Yeah, so nice little pair up so far by Veselin and Randy. It seems like they're coordinating so far.
Yep. Popov playing it the same way, putting the knight on f3 a little bit passive. I think had he played by himself, he might have tried queen f3 a little bit more aggressive with the idea of knight c6. But he's just playing it solid and safe.
And now Randy's lashed out with this move d4. What do you think of that, Alejo? This allows a lot of possibilities for black.
I think after pawn takes d4, there's still a lot of good moves for White. You can take with the queen, and a queen trade would allow me to take with the knight.
But I could also play b4.
b4 at this point should not be such a big deal, I think, because I can retreat my bishop to d2.
Always a silver line.
And remember that because you put your pawn on b4, the pawn itself is weak, right? So maybe it wasn't such a big deal.
So instead, it looks like we've just captured on d4.
Yeah.
And that was Rex's move, I think. So now Fabiano should be at black.
Topalov quickly took with the bishop, which seemed to be by far the best move.
I like the way Fabiano is partnering up with Rex, too, even though they don't have that same like hilarious rapport of Gary and Rex. I think that Fabiano is playing very quickly, and he's doing that consciously because he knows every second is precious.
Yeah, although in this case, it's White that has more time. So it seems like Randy and Topalov are also doing quite a good job at coordinating their time usage. This last move by White, I'm not so sure about this knight e5 move. It kind of allows queen d5 check, centralizing that powerful queen.
And forcing the knight backwards, huh?
I think it's okay. I'm not seeing any issue with that.
Yeah, I guess you can always, it looks like everything's just
defend
I'm a
it.
little, yeah. So queen d5 check was played.
Yes. You know Rex is playing well, so seeing all the good moves. Knight f3 was played, which is your suggestion.
Maybe I was worried about some rook d8, yeah. So rook d8 was played by Fabiano now.
Yeah, and then c3,
c3
very
protecting.
solid. I like that move, quick and confident. b4, oh wow.
Something's going on. We don't know what's going on. Ooh. The tension is building.
We are outplaying them clearly, I think.
Clearly.
I'm not sure about that.
When it's my opponent's turn to play.
So perhaps some good practical decisions here.
Yeah, it seems like the players are a little bit more coordinated. I noticed that the queen on e2 has a subtle threat against that pawn on a6. I'm sure that Caruana saw it, but I wasn't so sure if Randy would have seen it had Caruana not played the move queen c4.
So our best played game so far, indeed.
I think by both sides, that would
Yeah.
be true, yeah.
Yeah, both players playing well, and I think that makes sense because
Still
you
kind
know
of
they're
equal.
getting into the groove of this. I mean, this is not exactly something you do every day. Partner
No.
up with 2800s and maybe starting to lose some of the nerves and show their higher level of game, even though there've been some great spots by both of them.
So far, so good. It seems as if both sides have played okay. Black is down on the clock about 30 seconds, nothing too serious right now, and the position looks about equal. If I had to commentate on a 2800 game, maybe I'd give Black a slight edge, but nothing special at the moment. And it's funny how many times this knight has gone between e5 and f3 in this game, but somehow it seems like it always made sense.
So now, now I think it's Fabi's move.
Yeah, I'm not sure what he's thinking about.
Yeah, again, should probably play Twickly.
I mean, besides rook c8, does he have a choice? Wow, taking on c3. An intermezzo move, which I'm not entirely sure why he played. Not so much because it's a bad move, but if I simply recapture, well, I was more worried with the other recapture, b takes c3. Rex had to make sure not to play rook c7 instead of rook c8.
Indeed, because of the skewer.
Because of the skewer, and I wouldn't have let him get into that position.
Well, when they are almost down a whole minute on the clock.
Whoa.
And it looks like a blunder.
Blunder.
happened.
Oh, capitalizing on that blunder.
So interesting to see here that the general level of Rex's moves seem to be pretty good, but then he has these couple like blunder moments, and that tends to happen when you're playing Blitz.
Yeah, absolutely. Should tell his coach about it.
But I think that happens with everyone, but obviously some people blunder more than others. There's that consistency.
And Topalov playing very quickly, and the more simplified the position becomes, the easier it's going to become for both of them. And confidently simplifying them. Just up a rook in an endgame. How bad can this go for white? It's a full rook.
Indeed, but they remember.
They remember worse positions.
I think they would resign except for
Defend this pawn.
And then you can
except for the other game.
Was a much worse position and somehow salvaged. Well, at the moment it's a full rook and 45 seconds on the clock. So.
Looks like they're playing.
No, I just played rook a7.
Well,
Okay.
Does it matter?
Considering resignation, but
I
hard to
think
do
it-
so in a
they
team
could
event. You
throw
don't want to be that
yourself
guy
out.
that resigns when your partner didn't want to.
Well, looks like we're gonna go the distance in this, you guys.
Okay, I have to stop your pawn.
Play. Now, good technique would simply play rook c3. That's okay. It's a nice move also. Maybe not most precise to allow the king into the queen side. It just makes promoting that c pawn a little bit harder. But okay, you're up a rook. You can take your luxuries.
Maybe we should think about resigning.
Okay.
All right.
Wow.
So Topalov at the back of the lineup. Remember, this is sudden death.
Well done.
If Topalov and Randy lose.
Save the best for last. All right.
Must feel nice to get a fixed pump from Magnus. Not everybody gets one of them.
Yeah, that's true.
So Magnus looking on, happy that his teammate.
Knights, you know?
You confused them, not you.
Exactly.
No, the problem was I played BC3.
Because we
And,
played with the knight a couple of times, so they
clear that the rook-
thought
yeah,
that
you
it
see
will
that
always
rook
stay
back.
on F3.
Right.
Move the rook.
Move the rook, lose the pawn.
Now we are improving.
Backward knight moves, those tricky knights. Yeah, when you left the rook. I know, that's tricky knights.
Well, I have to say I already lost once with an illegal move. So I just stopped it when it goes this way.
So that's why you know the rules.
Yeah.
His secret.
Haven't you read in your chess about this guy?
Yeah, actually it
Which
was
game?
Iker who was watching it, yeah? You watch.
We are with the Sinquefield Cup champion, Fabiano Caruana, who has just been knocked out. Fabi, what was your mistake in this one?
Well, I probably didn't play the opening too well, but I think that we were outplaying them. And yeah, the problem is that they got a bit lucky, that our rook was hanging. Normally it's not hanging, but this time it was, and what can you do after that?
Well, you had a complicated move you played in that position. You took on c3 and left the rook hanging, giving your amateur possibility of making this mistake.
Yeah, this was a big mistake. Probably should have moved the rook.
Probably should have. Well, we see that the players have to play in concert with their partner, and didn't happen here. But by the way, while we wait, just congratulations on your tournament. How are you feeling now that the tournament's over? You get a chance to relax and put in perspective how the tournament went.
I think it went great. Can't complain about anything.
Is it sunk in that you made the highest tournament performance rating in history?
Well, ratings change over time, so I don't know. Maybe in terms of 30 years ago, there were probably better performances. But anyway, I'm very happy with it. It's for sure my best performance ever.
Always modest is Fabi. Back to you guys.
That was a great interview, putting the blame on himself.
Well, I did mention that it was a risky thing to do, leaving that rook on c4 under attack.
All right, let's take a look at the latest results. So we've got Team Randy having gotten through. Magnus, Levon, and Hikaru are left with Veselin and Topalov. So now it's sudden death. And Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, 2 players left for Team Rex. If Maxime and Rex win this game, they will win the Blitz portion of Ultimate Moves. If not, it goes down to the final match where Yasser Sarawan steps in.
It seemed like Veselin and Topalov and Randy had a lot of chemistry in that game. They played very well together. Topalov making sure that his partner didn't do anything bad. He never set him up in a position where he had to make a very tough defense or where he had to move a piece that was a little bit unclear. He made it very easy for him to just develop, recapture pieces that had to be recaptured, and basically do whatever it is he wanted. We're going to see a more complicated game starting already. A very unusual e4 opening, the queen coming to the center quickly, and black playing with a pair of bishops.
I forgot what it's called.
494, yeah. Pretty good. But knight on b7.
That's
I think it's called Rio de Janeiro.
the one where you go 96, 97.
Yeah.
It's Rio.
They're not supposed to really be helping with this game.
Well, they're not supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, they're having fun with it, but I think they're analyzing a different position, not the one on the board.
Well, the thing about grandmasters is they can analyze almost infinitely, every day, all day. So after c5, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave quickly played queen e5 check. Confidently, Topalov played bishop e6, very quickly as well. And there's actually a threat on the board. I mean, bishop d6 and castling would leave black in a much better position.
Yeah. Ooh, la la.
But maybe he has some trick with e5 coming. Yeah, d takes e4 first, and then castling seems like it's going to be a little different. White.
Great now.
To see if White can find that if the knight moves somewhere random like knight d2.
Inspire confidence.
Yes, indeed.
Looks like.
I was only talking, trying to bring confidence, but it didn't help.
No, you did. You made me a lot more comfortable. Very nervous. Now I'm breathing.
He's not saying anything.
Veselin and Randy are really connecting.
Really well. They're much better in this game already.
That's right.
Only a few moves of chess played. And whose is it to move? Is it Maxime? That's
The historians are gonna say that.
Knight h4 played. Quite a decent move, actually.
Wait,
And then then Randy castled, but moved his rook first. So they might be calling them out on that.
What's the rule? What did I do?
To touch a king first.
Yeah,
Oh.
to show that your plan was to, well, but
The rule changed a year ago.
it works.
I'm not going to enforce it. You can castle with your
We don't want it.
Keep playing. Keep
But I think they should just play rook f8.
Yeah, Rook of 8's not bad as well.
Progress as usual. No harm nor foul.
Even after.
There was some controversy, guys, because Randy Sinquefield touches rook first. He touches rook first in that position, and they started arguing, saying that castling, you have to touch the king first, but apparently a rule said that it's possible to do both. I thought you had to touch the king first, but Tony Rich, the arbiter, said, I'm not going to enforce that rule. Even if it is a rule, he's going to let castles happen. So the game continued. Guys.
That's right, and I think Levon was pointing out that that rule had recently changed.
Yeah, there were a few interesting changes in the July 1st FIDE rules, but I'm not entirely sure what rules we're using in this case. Some are more strict than others, apparently. And at the end of the day, Topalov still has a good position.
Yeah, so Topalov and Randy.
Well, it seems like White can retake that pawn on e4. I don't see why not.
So queens have come off the board. So
there was
b2
a
was in
rook
take,
b8,
so
yeah.
rook b1 protecting the pawn. And another comfortable time edge for Topalov and Randy, so really
It's over a
amazing.
minute. It's over a minute. They have an extra pawn, an extra minute. Things are looking good.
White has to try to figure out how to make some threats here.
Yeah, but it's not so easy.
Not a lot of trade. If they trade any more pieces, it's going to be serious problems.
If Randy plays f5 after this, White's in some serious trouble. You just got to defend that pawn. Well, almost. f6, just as good. Attacking the bishop. Maybe you can follow it up with f5 later.
Well, in next move, it's going to be Topal's move, so he's going to decide what to do, and he
Yeah.
can follow it up with f5 indeed.
Yeah, very good. I'm hoping I don't have to rotate him. That's my whole point.
So it looks like we might get our sudden death battle. Although, okay, so knight d5, trying to centralize and keep things a little bit interesting. Again, more trades might spell the death of white because not only will you be behind on time and position, but it'll also be too easy for black to play. That's what you want to avoid.
I agree, but it's not over until it's over. Black does have some weaknesses, so if white can put some pressure on them, you never know if they can blunder at something. Sinquefield did not like this knight d5 maneuver too much. Just put the knight back on c3.
But on the other hand, maybe white actually accomplished something because there was a threat of rook d1, although knight to b6 has been played.
Knight d6 has been played, and the idea was knight c4, attacking basically everything that white owns. But okay, rook d1 looks logical here. Bishop e5 might be playable, although there's some calculation involved.
Also,
Knight c4 looks
we have the
okay.
luxury, we can make a draw.
And he has played bishop e5.
Yeah. I think that after bishop takes c5, which is the best move, knight c4, yes, there's some concrete threats on b2, and black's activity now will regain the pawn that he just lost.
My dad and myself will surprise you.
It is really amazing the way that. I think that it's just amazing the variation. How in some games the play is so high level, and then some it's just there's a really big range, isn't there?
I think Team Randy would be very happy if it's the Palovs. As planned after bishop takes c3, which would attack that rook on e1, not allowing you to return. He sees it.
Sharp intake of breath.
And now black is just going to go up in exchange.
I saw it.
Who says
The
that?
game continues.
The game continues. It's not over yet. An exchange is just an exchange, but black is by all means winning at the moment.
Indeed, and I mean, we did see that when you're down a whole rook, that's when it really becomes like.
And blundered back.
I gave it right back.
Because the pawn structure still favors black. They're going to be slightly better in the end.
It's strategical way of doing things.
To show some precise.
It's like you were channeling Randy there.
So, at the moment, it seems like 2 minutes should be enough to hold the endgame here. Palov looks confident, very confident about this position. If he takes on e4, Randy has the difficult decision of going for a rook endgame or a pawn endgame by taking on e4. Something that's not so easy to calculate when you're an amateur. For a grandmaster, it's probably obvious that you take with the rook, but okay, he did take with the rook.
And the line is fist pumping. And then
Yes. 3 against 2, and we'll make a draw.
It's winning 3 against 2.
I'm not even
Total
sure.
draw. Dead draw.
Yeah, guys should just agree to draw.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, but it's the
Everything in
same.
position.
Well,
He's
it's
gonna
not
have
the
an
same.
extra pawn. He's got the better king activity, and it seems difficult to believe that in a real game White could survive. But we have to see how Randy Sinquefield's technique is.
There you go, Rex. Yes. Nicely done.
Bounces king side pawns first. Should he play rook a2 first, or should he bring his king over as quickly as possible? Questions that might be relevant in a real game of chess. Here we're simply going to go into a 3 versus 2 pawn, rook and pawn endgame, which offers black some minimal chances in worse position. But with perfect technique, you would think this is somehow a draw.
Indeed, but black better play for here.
I must say. Keeping the pawn.
We should make them believe that we are playing for draw.
My turn? Yes.
Trying to get some space on the king side. But, okay, it's Randy Sinquefield's turn to play. Plenty of choices here. f4 I don't like so much. He didn't really advance
Now I
that
think we're
pawn
playing
because
for a
it
win.
makes it a little bit of an easier target.
Yeah, f4
But-
weakened the position a bit, so
Yeah,
I'm confident here.
there's still chances for people to go wrong here.
But we don't need to. No. Black is still better.
Of course.
Not really.
Really? Really?
Yeah. If you're
The
talking
pawn majority.
symbolics.
The pawn majority. Very
There
good.
we go.
Yeah, it's happening.
Team Topalov happy about updating the H6 5F4 pawn structure, no longer relying on the weakness
Randy.
of the king and trying to create some play.
He's so worried. French.
Why don't you
the
guys
French
want to
man.
give checks?
Yeah.
The king is coming. That's it.
Ah, okay.
It's finished.
I understand. I understand.
It's over.
So we can get 2 against 1.
King G4.
Levon saying it's over though.
Check.
Trash talking, no doubt. Randy
Oh,
playing
this was a good
H5
move,
check, and
taking
now it's
away
back
the
seeing the
H5
move.
from the king.
Don't worry.
Thinking about where to put that king.
Now we're gonna drive you back.
Didn't think for too long.
Maxine, you're making me nervous. Why did you think about that move?
Truly good move, yeah.
Think about the
What was there to think about?
But we'll see how far they go.
checks. Always good.
King F2 played by Rex. Well, Rook A2 check seems to be the most obvious and accurate move, but
It's all bluff.
Randy can also
Nice,
play the move
brutal.
H4 immediately.
Brutal.
It's
Don't you
quite
know
powerful.
can't go back?
Yeah, but sometimes you have to push them forward. Very good.
Not so sure
Excellent.
about that one, but also possible maybe to prevent some checks from happening on the 5th.
And we do have Grandmaster Maurice Ashley with something news on what's going to happen here.
A quick update on the clock, folks. 1 minute, make that 59 seconds and counting for black, trying to win with the 3 against 2 majority. 43 seconds only for white. White should have been able to hold this position, but it's looking as though it's getting more and more dangerous for white. Down on the clock and down on the board, down on position. Back to you.
Thanks, Maurice. And black trying to play quickly and confidently. That's our only shot here.
Yeah, but at the moment, because of the pawn on H4, it seems like black cannot make any more progress. The king must stay on this H6 square because, well, it has to keep protecting the pawn on H5. So basically, white can sit and not do anything, and it's up to black to prove some kind of winning plan.
H4 gives the
No,
easy
not a
moves.
repetition, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think H4 was a very good move.
Now you're lost.
Why?
Let's do the same and we'll win. That's it.
Quite a bit.
Gaining some time in the clock. That's
Maybe
critical.
some time. White always loses the tempo with his maneuvers, which is fine. Tempos are clearly not critical at this point. But at some point, I think black's going to have to risk. I would make sure to play Rook A2 check when it's Randy Sinquefield's turn to play. He might just play King G1.
He knows what to do.
It's just 3-fold, isn't it?
Rex trying to call a 3-fold.
That's definitely not a 3-fold. The rook, black's rook has been in different positions every time. So this is not a 3-fold repetition at all. But at some point, I'm kind of hoping that they go Rook B2 check.
Ah, very good.
Yeah. Wrestling, come on. Don't see the winning plan?
King H6.
But
isn't it already 3-fold?
No.
Come
No,
on.
no, it's
No, but after Rook F5.
Wrestling, go for a win.
After Rook F5.
3-fold repetition situation is anymore.
Now it's wrestling.
But at some point, they have to play Rook D2 and try to do something. But
Yeah,
there you go, Rook D2 check with Randy Sinquefield to play. If he plays King G1, they might be in a little bit of trouble. But King F1.
Bravo, Rex!
Yasser echoing your sentiments.
Was there anything wrong with King G1?
I don't know, but I just thought you needed a cheer.
This isn't a repetition anymore.
No.
And with this pawn being dropped off the board, it seems
Yes.
like there goes any winning chances
Yeah.
for
Congratulations.
Draw.
Draw.
Sorry, Pestilin.
It was a big fight, eh?
Yeah, it
Great
was.
defense, great defense. I did.
Pestilin, couldn't you play King F6 at some point and then G3?
Probably. You're playing really well.
Thank you. I was not as nervous anymore. Very nervous early on.
They repeat the move in that position. So after capturing the pawn on F4, the game ended in a draw with all the grandmasters eliminated from Randy Sinquefield's side. It is a win for Rex. They have cleaned out all the grandmasters, and with still another one on their team, obviously, they get the victory. Rex must be feeling really great about himself, making a comeback after a pretty shady play in the beginning after blundering a queen. Let's see if we can get Rex's word just for a quick second. Rex, After that rapid game where you made a really bad error, how do you feel about the comeback to win this match?
The comeback was absolutely unbelievable. One of the greatest comebacks in chess history.
Does it rival any of your favorite Cardinals comebacks?
Oh, it probably does, but you notice both of my blunders involve queens. One a queen on the board and one a promoted queen.
What does that mean, you don't like queens? Or you don't like women?
I'm in the wrong neighborhood.
Rex Sinquefield, congratulations on the victory. Back to you guys.
Wow, a really thrilling day of chess here. I had so much fun. The rapid portion was hilarious. The blitz portion was super fun. And it turns out that it's 1-1. Team Randy, they won the rapid competition, and Team Rex won the blitz competition. You know what? I think there should be more of this kind of stuff. That was really fun to watch.
I think that was very entertaining, and I would love for the top tournaments in chess to have these little fun side events because they were actually very, very hilarious to watch.
And here we have the results. Of course, we've got one man standing left on Team Rex, Rex Sinquefield. Technically, Maxime also eliminated after the draw between Vessel and Topolov. But there you go. You just need one guy left in your bench to win. And so Rex Sinquefield with Yasser Sarawan still standing. He has won the Ultimate Moves Blitz portion here in St. Louis. And we had a blast. I've been here with Grandmaster Alejandro Ramirez and Grandmaster Maurice Ashley upstairs catching all of the action. And of course, thanks to all of the players for their brilliant moves and their ultimate trash talking.
It was not so much about the moves that they made on the game, but their attitude towards the positions and towards their opponents. It was just such a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, and I believe we are... perhaps we're going to let you know in just a minute if we're wrapping up or if we're going to play one last little blitz game. And meanwhile, we see Joy Bray. Many thanks to her for putting all these great events together, along with Tony Rich, of course, who's now the TD because international arbiter Chris Bird left earlier today. So Chris kind of left the hard stuff for Tony. The flawlessly run Sinquefield Cup, of course, there aren't usually a lot of quibbles in a classical tournament with the 6 best players in the world.
And I think we're going to see this is some kind of death match between the Sinquefields to determine the ultimate winner.
I guess we need a tiebreaker, huh? Because we have rapid win from Team Randy, blitz win from Team Rex, and now we're going to set it all off.
King.
Excellent.
No, I mean, come on, why is it always this is
No.
Sicilian is good.
Same hand.
It's good.
Makes sense.
No, but I mean,
This is
not how
perfect. Now you gotta bring your queen here.
Don't you see how good No, you're supposed to move it back 2 squares.
But the games are pivoting, so it's not a pure Sinquefield competition here.
Yeah, don't lose your queen.
Excellent. I mean, we don't need to give you moves. Yeah, just develop.
Wouldn't you guys love to play chess with the greatest greatest players in history standing over your shoulder? Or would it make you super nervous?
I think I would feel the pressure, and I'm a grandmaster.
Yeah, I mean, this would be absolutely terrifying. So kudos to Randy and Rex for holding up here.
Google Glass is working.
Happened so quickly, already up on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing about Blitz is you really need to get into the zone, and you've seen both of these players get better as the match progresses at Blitz. And I mean, I think that's also kind of like reality TV. They always say that you kind of forget the cameras are there at some point. I think they're forgetting that world-class players are right next to them. They're trying to zone it.
They might be trying all they want, but trust me, these world-class players are world-class trash talkers, and they're doing a good job right now.
Really? Okay.
Randy, you're doing good.
He's dangerous with his knights against me. I got to take his knights away.
A minute, Randy's down a minute rather on the
Yeah,
clock.
so I need to take his queen
But
away.
Oh, well, it's
Going for the
too
attack.
aggressive, I think.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe move the queen to the side, just to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, just somewhere here.
No, go
to
this
the
way
side.
and attack.
Any place is
3,
good.
yeah. To the side.
I want to defend the pawn. Yeah, I got to defend the
What's going
pawn.
on in there?
Sometimes you should trade bishops for knights. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
You're allowed to tell him what to do. Ooh.
Now we have
You're
to
allowed
attack
to
here,
tell him what
to
to
this
do.
side. It's important.
Interesting.
Attack.
Yeah, very good.
Defense.
Come on. Of course.
Yeah,
Put
go.
your piece
Go
into
for it.
Go for it. Go for it. It's attack.
Yes, excellent move, Rex.
Provoke the queen to c4, and now?
Yes, take advantage or exploit that weak queen.
Maxime is going to be happy when the bishop gets the e6.
Now you open you open
the line.
Yeah, that's my sacrifice, to open up the
Now
line.
use a straight line of swords. That's fine.
Yeah, you have some discovered attacks, you know.
Now we'll have to put the knights
your mind.
overhead, you know.
I think you should protect g6 at the first moment you can.
But it's already protected. It's,
Well,
don't
yeah, but
confuse him.
protect it again.
Yeah, to be sure, to be sure.
I think you should move the rook to attack.
Yeah,
that protects
nice, Rex.
Good.
Nice.
He wants to
Locking
have one
the
pawn,
diagonals?
yeah? And
Try
right.
to, you know, he has a weakness on this 6. This pawn, he weakened the pawn.
Yeah,
Try to
the pawn.
attack it.
Attack the pawn. Attack
Yeah,
the
but
pawn.
if he attacks, he will exchange queens, yeah?
You can attack with the knight.
Sure you know where. You sure he knows where d6 is?
Yeah, how does he exchange queens?
Oh, you attack the pawn on d6. Who
that
gave
also
the good
attacked.
advice to attack the pawn on d6? Oh, nice, Rex.
Yeah, maybe this
He's
is
playing too
this
much.
wasn't so good.
Just
No.
watch out for pins, but probably I don't need to tell you
The
that.
point is you're attacking, but he's defending very well.
All the moves, best moves.
Maybe you should try to take this one. Go for attack.
Go for
All
it.
in.
Yeah, all in. I like it. I like it.
Yes!
Wow.
Come on, just a bad move.
Wow, Rex is picking up all the patties, as Yasser would say.
Because you lose a piece.
Pawns capture diagonally forward.
I'm pretty sure.
But we have open line G. So we
it's
can-
true.
We have an open line and we have a check. Yes, that's compensation.
Big
No,
compensation.
not a bad
So a
decision.
pawn is worth 3 tempi, and a piece is worth a check and an open line.
Yes.
As long as the check's from Rex.
Everything will seem easy.
Yeah, are we playing with touch moves?
I think you left.
I think he.
Oh, he
Touch
left it?
clock. Touch clock.
Ah, it's a blitz. It's a blitz.
Your
Touch
move's
clock.
completed when you press your clock.
Yeah, but what about the piece? Does he have to move the bishop?
Then you have to move the bishop.
Ah, you have to
you
move the bishop, yes.
Oh, I do.
A long thing here.
Touch that.
Touch clock,
Oh.
not apparently, so touch move.
This is Armageddon.
But now it's going to be tricky because h5 has been taken for frame.
So now you're gonna.
We should
take
continue.
We should continue,
Or,
right?
No, with the rook, you know? Get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
Rook d1
We should
continuing the
continue our
initiative,
plan.
g6
I
perhaps.
think you're right. You're right.
Our gentle.
We got lucky, but we're.
Yeah.
This 2800 advice might not be the best. They just want an exciting game, not a good game.
Yeah, this might actually be a problem.
Yeah.
All in, all in.
All in.
Yes.
Ready, yeah.
All in.
And bishop takes g6 on the board.
Because the queen can join, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think you should check first.
Well, it's a little dangerous.
It got dangerous.
Probably shouldn't take on g6. No. But it's up to you.
They're all just part of the party now.
He just likes chess.
Yeah. I'm trying to decipher it actually.
You should probably cover all those weaknesses.
Yes.
Actually, it might be okay to take as well.
Okay, make up your mind.
You ask 5 chess players, you get 6 opinions.
That's
Yeah.
right.
All right, we'll do it.
Yeah, baby.
I agree with that decision.
Easy.
Call his bluff.
Queen f7, queen e6, sorry, followed by queen g6. Not entirely sure what he's planning to do to defend against that. I'm not entirely sure about that either.
Now it's important to play a good move here.
Almost all.
Otherwise, you're going to lose the game.
I don't think this one wins either.
Important to play a good move here, according to Levon Aronian.
Well, how are you winning?
You know, it's important
Why?
to think.
It's the only chance.
Queen e7? Or
Actually, you have a
Thinking
winning
is not
move.
allowed.
King h8?
You have a winning move, actually.
A winning move.
All right, Alkovitz, why is it you?
It's
Yeah, we're up a rook.
Queen g4, no? No, not that one. Queen g4 would have threatened queen h5 checkmate. And if rook g6, rook f5, actually I'm not entirely sure how that would have won.
So instead, taking it on e6.
Just allows him one important tempo to defend.
So he had a couple of different possibilities there. He chose rook f6.
Looks good to me.
Indeed. So he's got trading pieces on his mind after the sacrifice, and looks like a good strategy.
Yeah, the attack is going to dwindle down pretty quickly.
And now he's deciding which piece to take with.
Oh, an intermediate move that's maybe unnecessary.
Now we need to get the knight in the business.
Yes.
Knight in business. Nice.
My only chance in this game is to somehow bring in the knight and coordinate it with the queen to do something.
Check is good.
But okay, he's
Seizing
gonna
the
run.
initiative.
Brave king move to the center, king d1, instead of the perhaps more logical f4.
So Fabi giving some priceless advice there, trying to trade queens.
Rex, trade queens. Go for the queen trade.
Ah, this was even better.
Go for me.
Fabi was thinking of a move actually offering a direct trade of queens, but he likes Rex's move even better, actually perhaps putting pressure on the king.
Yeah, even rook e8 is a threat in this kind of positions. Well, in your upper rank, I guess everything's a threat.
This one would give it away. Yeah.
Probably attack his queen. Yeah, this is good.
Don't be greedy here.
Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy.
Not steak on f4.
No.
Sneaky code words. They don't want to give exact moves.
Okay, that move looks like it's okay.
I don't know.
It's a perfect move. I'm sure it's first line of computer.
Perfect move called by Fabiano Caruana. Perfect move called by Mr. Perfect.
Bishop h4 should be the first.
Well, maybe.
Queen f3.
Or queen f1.
No, queen f1, king d2.
Queen e1. I don't know.
Yeah.
How can it? Queen e2.
That must be really easy for
Oh, wait,
you.
don't have
I'm getting away, but you queen f3.
Don't lose that bishop, Rex. That's an important
No, please
defender.
go king h8. Because if you take queen f3, there's f3.
I don't think any of the convincing yourself, you guys, sorry.
Not at all. Thanks for the help, guys.
Yeah, because the grandmasters aren't even offering exact moves. They're just offering
And sometimes-
general advice.
The thing is, sometimes they're actually offering bad advice. They just want to see good chess. They want to make it interesting. They don't care if they actually pick the best moves.
Now think. Can we take the bishop somehow?
You know, sometimes
Yeah.
it's good to listen.
That's-
But think. Yeah, very good. Fantastic. Well
Queen
done.
c7 was probably not first line of
It was
computer.
not. So it was not the first line.
Holds a significant advantage. Some threats against black's king. I don't see anything immediate, and knight f6 check is coming.
Yikes! Danger! Danger! Danger!
I think Rex forgot that he cannot
Queen
check.
d4 or queen g1?
Yeah, I think that's right. Levon was saying that maybe Rex thought he could play queen d4 check
Yeah,
here, and that was his
yeah.
plan. Unfortunately,
Uh-oh. Knight f6. Isn't that a little bit of an issue?
indeed, I think the grandmasters are
Oh.
indeed.
Yeah.
Out.
Okay, now you have to try to defend.
Very free exchange on e8,
That's right.
because it's check.
So then it'll be about whether or not Rex can try to defend using a combination of checks against the king, and Randy instead trying to keep the exchange.
Well, keep the exchange
I
down.
mean, keep the knight, rather. I'm
Keep the
sorry.
knight?
Keep the strong knight on s6, assessing that perhaps he can get an attack this way.
Going for the initiative, I like it.
Indeed.
Maybe following it up
Very
with
dangerous.
h5, h6.
Very, very dangerous.
And what were we saying about knights earlier?
That they're awesome in Blitz.
Yeah, he was listening to us, obviously.
Obviously.
Just have a pawn now.
Okay,
go.
just take a pawn.
Yeah.
It's actually very difficult to defend as black.
Indeed. And he's behind on the clock.
Oh, will Randy take it after being down a rook?
No, I know.
Is there an increment?
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Yeah, very
Check.
good.
Queen A2
Move
is
forward.
Fearlessly played,
Yeah.
No, but
going
come on,
all the
you
way to
cannot
the other
really
side of the board.
do such obvious-
And this doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Oh.
Get in there.
Check, check.
Maybe
It's like
he might not have seen the move queen a1 check, and now black has his own attack after queen e1.
Go ahead.
queen f1.
And there's no
Please,
time left on
please,
the
please,
other
no
clock.
moves.
This is just wildfire.
No, a bad move anyway.
Still has 42 seconds to
Let's
think.
go. We only have
Black's
one
at
move.
15. So, well, not a good time to spend this time. It's the only move in the position is king d3.
You only got one, yeah.
There you go.
Just keep checking. Any check is good.
Now we have only one move.
Again.
Again, only one.
Bravo, Randy. I didn't see him, mate.
Any,
Yeah, I
any
didn't
check.
see one.
But then rook c7 was good.
Okay. Oh.
Good.
I'm not thinking of the game in another repetition. That would be very fitting.
Always a
We've
phone.
seen
Go-
plenty
go
of
for it.
repetitions
Always
in
a
this
phone. Mate him.
tournament. 7 seconds left for Rick Sinquefield.
What's
Now he should take the repetition.
But don't run out of time.
shocker, he has only 4 seconds left on the clock. Avoids a repetition, threatening
Queen
checkmate in
E3
one.
checkmate. Queen H5 looks pretty good. Is that a knight? Is that a knight? It's a knight! Check.
Oh my God! Randy Sinquefield learning from Rex Sinquefield's mistake. This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Oh my God. Knight check.
Yes, that's good.
What a move, preventing everything. Check on D5.
Take it.
Brilliant.
Take.
Time!
Yes!
Glorious conclusion to a well-played ultimate moves. H8 equals knight. Who would have seen that coming?
Where's the word he was going to promote into a queen and run
that would
into
have been a
checkmate?
checkmate. All right.
Oh, my goodness.
You guys were such great sports, so were the GMs.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Magnus. Veslin, thank you so much.
Well done, Randy.
Carl, thanks for putting up with me. I know that was painful.
Congratulations.
It's your defeat.
Finale here at Ultimate Moves.
I didn't expect a game of this caliber. It would have been so exciting and with such kibitzers.
Very, very exciting. So a last-minute addition to Ultimate Moves.
No, it's 5:30 now. Sorry.
And we have more Reese Ashley with Randy Sinquefield.
Thanks, Jen. We're with the Ultimate Moves winner, Randy Sinquefield. Randy, how is it feeling to beat your dad in the Sinquefield versus Sinquefield Cup?
Relieved. This was more stressful than I thought. I give a lot of credit to the chess players playing in these tournaments. I didn't realize how much anxiety there is. But I think this is probably one of the first Blitz games my dad and I have played in 5 years or something. So it was really neat to play a fast game.
Was it distracting getting advice? Sometimes they didn't even give you moves. They were talking amongst themselves.
They were talking around us. I don't think that my dad and I were listening to much of what they said. However, they were helpful from time to time. But I don't understand the jargon like they do. So it was just letters and numbers to me.
Many of us would fantasize about playing against 2,800 players or with 2,800 players on your team. What was that like?
It was great. It was stressful in the beginning. I was very nervous, but Levon made me very comfortable, and Veselin as well. It got me to calm down, focus, develop pieces, make better moves, and in the end, I think I finished well.
Is this trash talking for a
Well, thank you all for tuning in for 2 weeks of Sinquefield Cup coverage and Ultimate Moves. Stay tuned to the U.S. Chess Championship website for some news tomorrow about a 960 match. And otherwise, look for information on 2015 Sinquefield Cup. It's absolutely been a pleasure working with you today, Alejandro Ramirez, and of course, with Spectrum Studios and Fat Chimp Studios and the staff of the Chess Club for the last few weeks.
It was an absolute pleasure to watch not only this entire tournament, but this Ultimate Moves event that was just so incredibly fun. Thank you, Jen. It was quite a pleasure to annotate and commentate with you. And thank you all.
Bye, guys.